Well, we welcome you to coverage of the 2025 Indy Karting Challenge from the beautiful and cold K1 circuit, Whiteland. Taylor Burris here along with Nate Dean as we just have wrapped up qualifying and we're only a few short moments away to kicking off pre-final action for your morning group. We hope all of you who tuned in for the morning qualifying session were able to become KC Premium members to catch all the action for today here at the K1 circuit in Whiteland. Of course, you get the other chance to later on for the afternoon qualifying session. So if you didn't get the chance, make sure you try again here. Or if not, tell your friends to make sure to come and check out all the action from K1 circuit Whiteland for the Indy Karting Challenge. Nate, with a really good qualifying effort we saw from a lot of drivers, a lot of the front runners from last year we saw make their way up towards the front of the field. But now it's time to see if you can only not just set fast times, but can you lead this race from start to finish or find your way up to the front to have the better starting position for the finals?
Yeah, absolutely. This could get interesting with what is still a bit of a wet track at some places. You can see on the asphalt as they're doing a little bit of a reshuffle on grid to get everyone in their positions. A bit easier when you can just keep the drivers in the kart at this age. But you can see the dark spots there. That's still a little bit of moisture on track that could make things interesting. Obviously, it's not going to be as bad as what we saw for these guys in their qualifying and warm-up sessions. The track has dried significantly since then, and it will continue to do that throughout the day with the help of warm tires going over the surface and a bit of wind, but still, it's going to be difficult for these guys when they're trying to make passes or go offline. You can see here on this camera shot on top of the banking, a lot of dark patches still throughout the track, as can kind of see in the banked corner here, some wet spots at the bottom there. The back straight is still very much not dry as drivers making their way out for the first heat race of the day, as they'll be getting ready to get things going here in just a few short moments time.
Absolutely, as the field will work their way out onto the circuit. And we will, as soon as everything tallies up, we will give you your starting lineup for today's racing action here in your 206 Cadets. Already one trouble for one driver. The number 12 machine loops it around. It just shows you how wet it is out on the circuit. And we will hopefully get the official results once they come across the start-finish line and give you the starting lineup here today. Starting to warm up just a little bit, but still you can see the wind starting to pick up significantly, as here is your starting grid for your 206 Cadet pre-final. On the pole position, the number 2 of Oliver Shanahan, followed by James Fox in second place. Patrick McNeely will be in P3, followed by Kyle Hendrickson in 4th position. Diesel Maxwell will be in 5th, followed by Harper Smith in 6th position. Bo Lazier in 7th, and Miles Hale rounds out your 8 kart field. There you see Shanahan in the number 2. That was one of the 2 drivers that didn't have their transponders. They definitely were setting quick times here for this race as they get themselves onto the circuit. Let's hope for James Fox in that machine up ahead of him in the top kart will be able to control that kart and get themselves ready as they get set for their formation lap. And I am wondering where everybody else is, because look at the gap between your top 2 and the rest of the field.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple spins on the opening lap. I'm not sure if they're doing 2 formation laps. We got a couple marshals with yellow flags in the air, so I think they might be giving these drivers an extra lap to get themselves up to tire temp, but I could be wrong, as drivers are now starting to slow down. Might have been a little bit of miscommunication with drivers spinning there, but all is well, as they'll be getting them hopefully lined up for that start zone at the end of the straightaway. That's at turn 7, but they might have to send them around again because everyone is so spread out here, Taylor.
Absolutely. We'll see what the officials do here as they come down. Yep, slowing them down, get themselves all ready. As Fox looks like he's stopped and now is waiting. And Shanahan will go on his way. McNeely follows through. So it looks like they're going to go one more lap because of just how far spread out everybody is.
And I think this is just If you look at qualifying times too, James Fox and Shahan were so far ahead of the field that their pacing speed might be some of these drivers going as quickly as they can. Of course, 206 Cadet is still a fairly low rung on the karting ladder. Drivers are still getting used to karting. This is really the step out of Kid Kart, so a lot of these drivers might be making their cadet debuts on an incredibly tricky track surface, but we're all lined up. I think we're going to be ready to go. We still got to get through about 6 or so corners before we can head our way into the start box at the end of the straightaway. So they'll make their way into turn 7, which will be the opening corner here. A little bit of a different starting procedure here at Whiteland for this race, just to make it so they're not trying to go double file in the first opening corners through turns 1, 2, and 3, which would be a little bit treacherous as we're still trying to get all these guys and girls lined up. And Taylor, I think I'm going to get racing going here today.
I think so too. We'll see what happens. They're now entering the back straightaway here into the start box. They will go. Let's see if we can get them green flag rolling. Into the tram lines, they will start to make the slowdown process begin. Waiting for the green light as they check and see, do we get the green flag? Yes, we do. I see green lights. It's time to go racing in 206 pre-finals, and already shot out of a cannon. One driver just takes off, gets a great jump on the field. Was that, I have to say, that was one of the towards the back half of the field. Let's see who it is as they come across the start-finish line here, because here comes James Fox and Oliver Shanahan, who are hot on their tails. Across the line, Kyler Hendrickson jumps out to the front of the field in that number 95.
Kyler Hendrickson has had a few wins around here, at least in Route 66 competition, but the number 12 of James Fox on that top kart machine will retake the lead out of turn 5 and heading down the back straightaway for the first time in anger. And you can see just how spread out these drivers are already. Fox leading the way. It's probably going to be by about a second or so by the time they get through this back half of the track. Hendrickson seems like he's struggling a little bit for pace this weekend thus far, but still, Fox having a excellent opening lap, and that's just going to increase the gap. I think Hendrickson going off and wide hard into the barriers there for Hendrickson. Hope he is okay. Officials will be tending to him, but I think just getting a wheel offline there, Taylor, and hard into the barrier.
Very hard. You saw there on the camera as they were coming off that final corner, dips it, and there you see now James Fox leading the charge here, having a comfortable lead by at least 5 kart lengths ahead of of Oliver Shanahan. Then Patrick McNeely, one of your other competitors in the championship last year, hot on the tail of Shanahan for that second position as they enter into the back half of the course, heading to, as we have a red flag out on the circuit here. Red flag is out for the first time in today's action. It's something we don't want to see, but we got to make sure that Kyler Hendrickson is okay.
Yeah, it was a nasty hit for Kyler, as obviously medical staff and Whiteland will be heading their way over to him, making sure he is okay. As drivers will be coming to a halt here just to give staff the room they need. As, yeah, obviously hoping Hendrickson's okay, as we'll be giving everyone a little bit of a break, covering the airwaves, going quiet as we'll be heading our way to a break here for the Indy Karting Challenge.
So you finally want to get behind the wheel, huh?
Yeah, I've been shooting for 3 years and I've never got to drive.
Well, you're gonna need some more gear than just your helmet. Why don't you go to shopakr.com? They got their inventory online and they'll ship it the same day if you order before 5:30 p.m. Eastern.
They got shoes?
Yep.
Gloves?
Yep.
Rip protectors?
Got those too.
Can they make me go fast?
No.
Here at Acceleration Kart Racing, we've got everything you need to get on track. What happens next? Well, that's on you. Check us out online at shopakr.com.
Hey, what's up, Caleb?
What's up, Brandon?
You sound defeated. A long day at the office?
Yeah, got stuck at a cat food marketing meeting for like 3 hours. I don't know a thing about cat food, and I don't even work in marketing. And then I got sent on a coffee run like I was some sort of intern. Then at the end of the day, when I want to go get gas, I just realized everything is so darn expensive nowadays, man.
Yeah, you got that right.
Like, do you have any idea how much we're spending on Netflix?
It's like 20 bucks a month.
Do you know how much we're spending on cable?
That's like 50 bucks a month.
But you know what isn't expensive?
Tell me.
Kart Chaser Premium. For only $9.99 a month, you can watch all the American karting action live from coast to coast. Subscribe and become a member today.
Massimino wins in KA. Paulie Massimino is a winner in OKN Stars.
Take your driving to the next level with one-on-one coaching from 2024 OKN Stars champion Paulie Massimino. Kart rental options are available if you'd like to keep yours at home, and drivers in all classes are welcome, from Briggs 206 to Mini to KA100 and X30. With in-depth data analysis, onboard video footage review, and lead follow on-track sessions, each private coaching session will see you end as a more complete driver than when you started. Book your coaching session now.
Kyle, what are you doing?
It's got my new Greyhound seat.
You don't even have a cart.
Doesn't matter. I have a Greyhound.
Who the f is Kyle Cuthbertson? Doesn't even have a go-kart.
Doesn't matter.
Cuthbertson through on Turney. Turney in the dirt.
The K1 Circuit Semi-Pro League. This is a competitive race series with two classes. Junior Series for those who are under the age of 18, and the Senior Series for those who are 18 or older. If you think you have what it takes, come out and prove your skills on League Night. Both schedules are live on the K1 Circuit website. Your Kart Chaser live feed will resume shortly.
Ready to elevate your racing game? Introducing Apex, your 24/7 personal karting coach. Apex is your ultimate racing companion. Get expert advice anytime, anywhere. From setup tips to mental strategies, Apex has you covered. Fine-tune your car for peak performance. Get personalized advice on adjustments like tire pressure and chassis settings. Apex helps you master the track, from overtaking strategies to wet weather driving techniques, and to resilience to perform under pressure. Apex keeps you focused, confident, and race ready. Using Apex is simple. Sign up, ask your question, and receive instant advice from top-tier coaches. With Apex, your personal karting coach, you're never alone. Get instant expert advice on everything from setup to technique. Unlock your full potential with Apex. Your journey to victory starts here. Happy racing.
Colin, I need a new 219 chain. I need a 77 tooth sprocket. I need some more chain lube, and I need it probably as soon as like tomorrow. Dude, are you even listening? Like, we need this to run this weekend.
Want anything else?
What do you mean?
I already got it in the car on Acceleration Kart Racing's online store, bro. All orders over $200 get free shipping.
Oh,
Throw in a set of tires.
Done.
Everything you need, all in one place and shipped to your door for free on orders of $200 or more. Exclusions apply. Shop akr.com.
K1 Circuit, the world's greatest outdoor karting facility, is now open. Open karting and rental session schedules are available online. Rentals will resume today after the race event at 5 p.m. Thanks to Kart Chaser for live streaming the event at K1 Circuit, your coverage will resume shortly.
We welcome you back now to the Indy Karting Challenge live on Kart Chaser at the K1 Whiteland Circuit. We just wrapped up a red flag conditions. We are now going to be getting ourselves situated to do a total restart due to the fact of several karts not even be able to complete their first lap. So we're just going to re-rack them, restack them, and try again. Once again, my name is Taylor Burris. Alongside me is Nate Dean as we get ourselves situated here. But a tough break for Harper Smith. We have been confirmed that he is okay. He was moving around and was able to get up out of the kart. So thankfully he's okay, and that just shows, I have to say, Nate, the safety of these karts to be able to, as well as the safety of the tracks and the quickness of track officials to get to him to make sure everything was okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Not what you want to see at the start of a race, especially at the start of a day, but we've been saying it was treacherous, conditions that these guys will have to be enduring, but should be getting underway again. I believe I saw a green light there for a second, but I still think we're red, so I believe we're going to be setting the field up for this full race restart shortly.
Absolutely. We'll get ourselves situated here. And, of course, for more kart chasing action, make sure to become a premium member. Of course, for those of you tuning in are all premium members. But tell your friends about being a premium member here for $9.99 a month. We can catch all the action of the Indy Karting Challenge as well as other events. Of course, the next event here in this month of March is going to be at the Speed Sports Racing Park for the kickoff of the SCUSA Pro Tour. Catch all the action starting next weekend from Saturday, March 29th to the 30th. And then, of course, the next round of the Indy Karting Challenge, well, it's literally the week after, the weekend of April the 5th. So make sure to tune in, catch all the action as there is more exciting racing as well as also some racing at the sister track to the K1 Whiteland Circuit. The K1 Circuit in Winchester, California will also be kicking off a race for the Tri-City State Challenge as well in California, and as well as also the SCUSA Pro Kart Challenge. We'll be back at it once again later on in April as well. So a lot of racing kicking off here as we are full swing into racing in this season as we get set. And we're going to do a standing start. Green flag is out, and we are back at it. James Fox will lead the charge as they work their way across the start-finish line and into the first couple of corners, side-widening their way through. James Fox checks out by a couple of kart lengths ahead of the rest of the field as Patrick McNeely moves up to second place.
Yeah, it seems like James Fox is going to be the driver to beat today as making their way onto the back straight now out of 5 into turn 6. That huge banking corner that we've been talking about throughout the show. Already a sizable gap for James Fox and Top Kart out in front. Challenging field of Patrick Neely in that second spot, already starting to lose out on that leader in front. And not a lot you could say here, Taylor. What a opening lap it's been for James Fox. We saw this before the restart, just getting those tires fired up and just launching himself away from the rest of the pack. That is a 1.7 second gap he's found in just one lap.
Absolutely. A great jump on the field there to be able to get ahead of the competition. McNeely in second, who has now a 0.6 of a second advantage over Oliver Shanahan, who is now there. Bo Lazier in fourth, Diesel Maxwell, your top five, as we're dropped back to take a look at the battle for P2 between McNeely and Shanahan as they head down into the braking zone. About a 3-car advantage between your second and third place drivers as they try to see if they can get a little bit closer together and hunt down James Fox in this heat race.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult for those guys. You see Fox coming across the line, having to wait now to see McNeely coming across the stripe. Already a couple corners ahead is James Fox. Going purple last time across the stripe, but only a 10th quicker than McNeely behind. So Fox was just able to find something on that opening lap that the rest of the field didn't have. As we'll be making their way onto the back straight here. You see battle for second and third. Should be a bit of a challenge for him, Taylor, with about a minute remaining in this race. For if they want to catch up, they're going to have to hope for a mistake or something from James Fox, but so far throughout the day, can't really see that happening with him not putting a wheel wrong thus far.
Absolutely, and of course these heat races are 5 minutes plus 2 laps. The finals are going to be 10 minutes plus 2 laps, so we're just about a few laps away to get the 2 to go signal next time by as the clock continues to wind down here. I believe due to the fact of the morning session being delayed by an hour, we moved it up to 3 minutes plus 2 laps. We'll have to wait officially from race control on that matter as they work their way into the turn here of the bank corner. It is still Fox ahead of McNeely by 4 seconds. Shanahan trying to close the gap, but so far not going to come into his favor as James Fox comes around. He's going to have 3 more laps to go as he comes across the start-finish line and continues to set blistering lap time after lap time, a 45.7 last time by for him.
That's incredibly quick from Fox. It's now a 5-second gap between himself and McNeely in that second spot. Just has to keep it on track at this point because that is a heck of a gap for him to open in just what is the 3 minutes that they've been running. He's going to be the driver to beat definitely when it comes to the final later on today. As battle for second here, McNeely still holding off number 2 Kart behind. Is it's going to be difficult for these guys to pass offline, but I think the water has started to recede from the track in most places, Taylor, as they'll be getting 2 to go. Sticks in the air this time by Fox, breaks that timing and scoring beacon. Doesn't set a personal best, about half a second back from what he did last lap, but still 5.4 seconds to the good of McNeely, who seems like he has a bit of a gap to the driver behind. 7/10 now the difference between second and third.
Yeah, he was still half a second faster than second place and 0.3 of a second faster than Oliver Shanahan as we keep an eye on that battle for second place. As a little further back, you see Bo Lazier and Diesel Maxwell battling for that 4th position as well. Lazier holding strong in 4th as we come around to pick up our second place driver as they come around to complete the final lap this time by, coming down across the finish line here. And James Fox continues to hold strong as he leads that lap. There you see Patrick McNeely and Oliver Shanahan right there as we see Fox is now going to put drivers a lap down here as he gets by the top kart machine to put him a lap down. So this is going to be incredible to see the pace that top kart of James Fox will have here today.
Yeah, of course, and it's going to throw another factor into things when we get to the longer races in the final, is managing that lap traffic, as James Fox really just hasn't put a wheel wrong all day thus far. Coming out of turn 10, it's going to be a win for him. Checker flag in the air. James Fox is going to take the pre-final here, and we'll be starting on pole for the final, and what a gap that is. 5.8 seconds to McNeely behind. It wasn't really a challenge for him, was it, Taylor? As Fox, your winner in 206 Cadet.
Yes, indeed. And then it's going to be Patrick McNeely in second. A little bit of troubles for Oliver Shanahan as he drops back quite a ways from McNeely to finish third. Bo Lazier in fourth. Diesel Maxwell, Miles Hale, and Harper Smith. It's good to see that Harper Smith was able to rejoin the track and the race, so he will finish 7th place as well. So hopefully a little bit of work to get themselves situated, but it is now time for our next heat race. The 206 Sportsmen are about to go out on the circuit. As there you see the front row of MPG, and we did have 2 other drivers in the 206 Cadets that did not go out. Kyle Hendrickson, of course, involved, and Enzo Senier, who also did not start. Hendrickson, of course, out after that early opening lap there in the heat race previously in the Cadets. But here comes your 206 Sportsmen. Open the gates and release them once again, as they will go around for a warm-up lap.
Yeah, this being the next rung on the ladder for the 206 drivers, as Dominic Gaddis will be the first driver we saw on track there, but he's starting in the 2nd position. Another driver to look out for here, Taylor, as they'll be making one full complete warm-up lap, getting that word from Race Control in the Discord channel. But there you see, Danny O'Gara is going to be a driver to watch, starting from the back of the field on his Top Kart machine. He goes on very well here, of course, as his parents used to own the facility before Whiteland was purchased by K1. So obviously having probably the most laps of almost anyone around here will Danny O'Gara. So starting 9th for him, he'll be one to watch.
Absolutely. Here as the field is coming around the 206 Sportsmen, it is Dominic Gaddis, Will Feitinger, who is going to be 2nd, Kaysen Hendrickson, Elam Stoner, Blake Martinez, Miller Russa, Courtney Robbins. We do have that one transponder in 8th position, and then Christopher Hines in 9th position. So the formation lap has been completed. They're going to make their way around the circuit as we watch them get themselves ready to go racing here. I have a feeling that driver in 8th is O'Gara, who we're going to keep an eye on. Into the start line they will go. Everything looks clear. Let's see if we can keep it clean and have a green start. We get the green flag, and away we go for heat race number 2 for the 206 Sportsmen. And already Gaddis, Feitinger, and Hendrickson already trying to gaggle their way through, and already Gaddis checks out by several kart lengths ahead of the field.
Just like we saw last race, the leader getting, well, someone on the front row getting a huge jump. This time it being outside pole. Dominic Gaddis out to a great jump for him. And then Kaysen Hendrickson on that CRG chassis, I believe, is up into 2nd, as Danny O'Gara already in 3rd. So from 9th to a top 3 in a lap. This is some worrying pace for the rest of the field, as now it is Kart Republic, CRG, and Top Kart USA all represented inside that top 3 on the opening lap. Dominic Gaddis leads for the time being, Taylor, but you have to look out for Danny O'Gara, now currently running in 3rd. He's going to be a driver to look out for in this race.
Absolutely. O'Gara is going to be one to watch, as he is now up to 3rd across the line for the first time. O'Gara, a 45.413 compared to Gaddis' 45.410. So he has the pace. He's just got to get around Hendrickson in order to make it work for him. Another MPG machine of Feitinger right behind in 4th position as the field now works their way through. That group of 4 of the CRG, the 2 top karts, and the MPG starting to close up on Gaddis as they head down the straightaway. But just as I say that, O'Gara to the inside gets around Hendrickson for 2nd.
Yeah, now Danny O'Gara just has one more kart to try and get by to get to the race lead. It could be interesting, though, to see how much Danny O'Gara's kart was set up for the opening part of this race. Of course, you can go incredibly high on tire pressure to have the grip on that opening lap to get by all of the karts that he had to on that opening part of the race, but it still seems like, Taylor, that O'Gara is holding pace and closing the gap to Dominic Gaddis out in the lead. He's going to have the slipstream going down into turn 7. Might be able to make a move this time for the lead. Pulls to the inside, a new leader already from last to first. Danny O'Gara leads the way in Sportsman.
How about that textbook pass for the race lead heading into the final corner, and now pulls away a little bit of battling behind for third between Hendrickson, Feidinger, and Elam Stoner as they cross the line here, put another lap on the board, and a new fast time for O'Gara, a 44.37. Blistering lap times here for the Sportsman driver.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to beat him later on in the day for the final. Obviously, Dominic Gaddis is an incredible driver in his own right, but Danny O'Gara just seems like he's on another level in the early stages of today. Of course, we still have that final, and Gaddis and MPG might be able to respond to the pace of Danny O'Gara, but it seems like, Taylor, with how quickly Danny O'Gara got to the front and through the field, he's not starting to check out. Dominic Gaddis is staying there. This is what I was wondering, of how much that kart was set up for the early stages of the race, if that thing's going to start to get locked down underneath Danny O'Gara, and it's going to allow the two MPG Motorsports teammates of Gaddis and Feidinger behind to close up.
Yeah, Feidinger actually set a faster lap. Feidinger set a faster lap time with a 43.727. So it is really going to come into play here between these drivers as they enter into the braking zone. O'Gara pulls away just a little bit as Elam Stoner also in the hunt as well, sitting in fourth position. A good little catbird seat for him to try to pick these drivers off one by one if the opportunity presents itself. Across the line once again. And it is getting closer and closer, just under a minute plus 2 laps. O'Gara holding strong. It seems like now the tire temperatures and the tire pressures are now kind of balanced out amongst everyone inside the top 4. And here comes Feidinger, who is going to look to the inside, thinks better of it, stays behind Dominic Gaddis for the time being as they try to keep pace with O'Gara.
Yeah, not to mention, too, Elam Stoner is still in this race as well. The AMAX driver is holding on to the back end of this fight in the top 3 as they are all right on each other. You can throw a blanket over them as they come across the line this time. Meatball flag going to one of the drivers. Can't quite get an idea on who that was, but it was outside of this lead pack that currently being led by Danny O'Gara as Dominic Gaddis has not let him check out. Just making their way down through turn 5 into 6. Little bit of a mistake there from Gaddis, allowing a bit of a run for Danny O'Gara. We might see a bit of a carbon copy of what we saw between these two earlier on in the race. No, Gaddis holds back from O'Gara, but it does seem like, Taylor, that Gaddis has the motor under him, especially with the wind, to potentially make that move into turn 7.
Popsicle sticks in the air, 2 laps to go for your race leaders as O'Gara reclaims fastest lap of the race with a 6.40, a tie between personal best of Gaddis and Feidinger, who is now sitting still comfortably in second and third. Stoner falling off just a little bit as now Feidinger goes a little bit, tries to cross underneath, but could not make it work. Kason Hendrickson was the one who received the meatball flag. Tough break for them as they are now out of competition for this pre-final event. Here to go to the inside. Gaddis tries to reclaim the race lead and does so. O'Gara, though, pounces back around the outside. Does he have the momentum to keep him going? No, it's going to be a drag race down the front straightaway to get the white flag one more time around. Who leads this lap? It was Gaddis barely over Feidinger, and they're still going to battle as there's now an MPG 1-2 in this pre-final event.
Yeah, O'Gara down into third there. It's going to be hard for him to get by with just a bit, half the track to go at this point. Not a lot of passing opportunities outside of turn 7. I don't think that he's going to have the run on Gaddis as he's trying to go for the lead. No one able to make any moves, Taylor, as I think we're going to finish in this position.
I think so. It's safe to say Gaddis was patient. He let the driver of O'Gara take the lead and follow suit, but reclaims it where it counts. The most checkered flag in the air for Will Feidinger. Comes around and takes it away from Dominic Gaddis. Where was that? That was absolutely incredible. Feidinger was able to get a great run on the front straightaway and take the win away from Dominic Gaddis. O'Gara finishes third, followed by Elam Stoner and Blake Martinez. Here comes Christoph Christopher Heisen and Courtney Robbins. Miller Rosa rounds out the karts that finish in this race, with Kaysen Hendrickson not able to finish due to the fact of receiving the meatball flag. Absolutely incredible race coming to the line.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen this throughout the IKC competition, CKNA, and Route 66, that these sportsman drivers are able to have a nice, clean battle to the line. As we're already getting going for our next class, Taylor, it's the 3-in-1 that we are going to see the Masters, Legends, and Super Masters on track next.
It's the crazy veterans now about to approach on to the track here. We'll give you a full field rundown of your 206 Masters, Legends, and Super Masters as they work their way out onto the circuit. One warm-up lap, and then it's 5 minutes plus 2 laps here. And I got to say, this one's going to be a little bit fun because every single driver pole sitter in each of these classes is in first, second, and third. And they all had pretty decent pace amongst themselves as they come across the line to start their formation lap. We should be getting the full results here on the front row here momentarily.
And one thing to mention too, of course, all these guys are fighting for their own class victories at the end of the day, but when you're battling for the overall lead, they're all going to go for it. There's a bit of sportsmanship being shown there. Fist bump before the race. A bit of a feel that these guys got to form up, as I believe we'll get green on this first time around. The drivers all holding a slow pace to make sure everyone can get into those tram lines. And looks like we are ready to go for this 3-in-1 pre-final.
Absolutely, as the field works their way into the start zone to get themselves ready to go racing. And as they work their way into the start box, we'll get the green flag momentarily. It is, of course, on the front row. It is Troy Toney and Tom Harleman, and we get the green flag, and away we go, heading down into the first couple of corners to take the start, and a couple of drivers already struggling for grip on there as we have a big gaggle from fourth on back as they come across the start-finish line to start this action here today.
Yeah, already Tony having a big jump over Harleman. It was about 0.6 of a second. Not as big of first lap gains that we've seen in the previous two classes. So I think we'll see more battling on these opening laps for the podium spots than we did in the cadet and sportsman categories. But still, the field's starting to fan out this early stage of the race. A 5-minute heat race is not very long in terms of karting or really any motorsport. So if you're starting in the mid-pack or in the back of the field, you have to make up a lot of time very quickly. And on cold and wet track surface like it is here, you're going to be slipping and sliding. It's going to make things difficult for all drivers, really. As first time across the stripe in anger, you have Troy Toney still leading the way, 1.2 seconds, Taylor, in front of Tom Harleman in second.
Yeah, Harleman is your leader in the 206 Legends category, and then you have Hastings rounding out your overall top three. In the 206 Supermasters, it is Danny Cutshaw who is leading in that class. He sits fifth overall in the number one machine. As we pick up a little bit further in this group, this is around the fourth and fifth position there. You see Cutshaw as well as Evan McCordale, who is right there in the hunt in the Masters category, currently sitting third in class as they come across the line. And Troy Toney continues to pick him up. He picks up another 10th over Tom Harleman, who is trying to keep pace with him as we watch some more drivers battle out. That is the 22 machine of Harleman under pressure right now from Derek Hastings, who is trying to see if he can get second overall and go take the fight to Troy Toney.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult, though, because like we said, Toney with that huge gap. Of course, he's not having anyone to break the air in front of him. Like these two will now be able to work together. This battle for the overall lead could get interesting if these two start to work together and close that gap to the lead. It was 1.3 seconds last time across the stripe. We'll wait for timing and scoring to update. This time, 1.4. Of course, it's most likely down to the fact that they did make that pass in turn 7, losing a little bit of time, but Hastings now will have some clear air to try and catch up to the back end of Tony, who I believe might have a little bit of lap traffic to deal with, as seeing one straggler just a few seconds in front of our race leader.
Absolutely, as we watch them work their way through. Here comes Brian Williams also on this battle. This is going to be the battle for the 206 Legends category here pretty soon between Harleman and Brian Williams. So this could be fun to watch between these two as they work their way onto the front straightaway. One driver slows, as we do have a couple of drivers off the track. Michael Schaefer out of the race, and Tom Sarlett is also looking to be out of the race, as I saw him raise his hand and move out of the way of our leaders as we pick up the battle for your 206 Legends between Harleman and Brian Williams. Williams looking to try to see what he could do before they head to the bank corner as Hastings tries to hunt down your leader overall.
Yeah, and lap traffic, again, something we're going to have to deal with. Even on the heat races, 4 laps in, having to deal with lap traffic is something you don't see too often. So when we get to the racing later on today, for the longer races, we might see a couple of rotations through lappers. As you can see, battle here is 19 Kart, and I think Danny Cutshaw in front of him. So that is further down in the field for this 206 Master, Supermaster, and Legend multi-class racing. 3 karts all right there being led by Danny Cutshaw, and overall in 5th is a little bit of contact being made there in turn 3. This is really the closest battle we have on track for the time being, Taylor. Is 30 seconds left on the clock. We'll have 2 laps after that, so time's starting to wind down for these guys.
Yeah, that's Joseph Dertier, who is right there in this hunt in the 46 machine. Big slide for him as he tries to gather it back up, as he tries to keep pace with these 2 drivers in 5th and 6th. But meanwhile, up at the front, as we will be getting the 2 to go signal next time by, Williams was able to get by Harleman for the for the 206 Legend as contact. 2 drivers around, that of course being Cutshaw and McCordale, and some significant damage there to McCordale's machine as a piece of, looks like a flag maybe got cut off, as Cutshaw is not happy about what just happened there.
It looked like it might have been a little bit of the curbing from the exit curve there. It would be interesting to see when these curbs got repainted, and if it's early enough, then that could have got brought up by those hot tires. As yellow flags in the air through turns 1 and 2. That's not a place you want to be. I think at that point you just got to push yourself off the track for the safety of the other drivers on track. You're in a really precarious position there. As all it takes is one driver to go a little bit wide for you to get T-boned and someone gets seriously injured there. Not liking where that card is at all. But moving to the front of the pack, Derek Hastings looks like he has taken the lead from Troy Tony, as I think Tony has gotten by. So we have a battle for the lead here at Taylor in the final couple of moments of this race.
Yeah, Tony was able to get back by Hastings here as the laps continue to wind down. And actually, Brian Williams was able to close the gap. White flag in the air for your drivers as they work their way through. Look at the damage, though, to that nose cone of the number 13, though, of Derek Hastings. It is completely bent sideways a little bit right there. So that's going to affect the aero and the handling quite a bit on this kart, as we see the new gen machine of Troy Tony trying to hold strong in the 24 machine as they head over to the bank corner down the back straightaway for the final time in this pre-final. Does anyone have anything to pull out in the slipstream? A little bit of issues right there as Brian Williams watches on. Here comes Hastings around the outside. Can't quite make it work. And so far, that 24 machine of Troy Tony is looking to try to make it sure he can come out on top down the front straightaway for the final time. Checkered flag in the air, and it will be Troy Tony who wins in your 206 Masters. And then, of course, in your Legends is Brian Williams. 206 Supermasters looking to go to William McLaughlin. As here is your full field rundown. It is Tony, Hastings, and Williams, your top 3. Harleman, Dertier, Evan McCordale, William McLaughlin, Jason Irving, Chad King, Richard LeMasters, Chris Whitaker, Danny Cutshaw, Tom Sarl, and Michael Schaefer. Another thing I noticed on that 13 was that looked like a plastic jar over the filter or the air filter right there of his cart. I couldn't quite see, but it would look like something that was not normally covering what should be one of the filters right there.
Yeah, I mean, some drivers will get a little bit creative on how they choose to cover their air filter just above that right rear tire. Some of them using the mesh that Briggs & Stratton provide as a couple of those drivers. You see how they're a bit darker on that air filter. Other drivers opting for simple green bottles, other plastic bottles that will help keep that rain out of the air cover. It does help quite a bit. Some drivers opting for that mesh, other drivers opting for a harder substance to cover. But we got 206 Junior on track. We are moving through the schedule here, Taylor, as Christopher Yotze, first driver out on track in what should be a fun one to watch for these juniors.
Yes, indeed. 206 juniors now heading out onto the circuit. Here is your starting lineup. It is going to be Christopher Yotze on the pole position, followed by AJ Stoner, Carson Benjamin in third position, followed by Evan Patton, Parker Dunn, followed by Lucien Lazier in row number 3. Row 4, we'll see Joseph Villette, followed by Thomas Anthony, Nolan Wade, Maxon Keeble, followed by Nico Santos, Jordan Lafine, and then Ben Haughey and Case Ref, rounding out your 14 kart field, as 12 have currently taken onto the track. So we'll keep an eye and see if everyone else, but this is going to be one to watch. Yotze, Stoner, Benjamin, Patton, Lazier are all going to be ones to watch in this pre-final event.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to see. I think Yotze and AJ Stoner will probably be the drivers to beat in this one, but obviously can't count out Carson Benjamin and Evan Patton, who'll be starting on that second row. Other drivers like Thomas Anthony can throw himself into the mix, not the qualifying he would have wanted for the 317 AMAX driver, but starting on row 4, he's not too far back from the action if things go his way on the opening lap. He's definitely a driver not afraid to get his elbows out and to make his way through the field. So they make their way through the opening couple of corners. Traditionally, they'll get started to form up outside of turn 5 to get this race underway for the first of 2 for the 206 juniors.
Absolutely, as the field works their way into the start zone, everyone lined up. We do have 12 out of the 14 karts taking place in today's heat race. Hopefully the others will join for the finals as they enter onto the bank corner to head down the back straightaway and into the starting zone for today's action. 5 minutes plus 2 laps. We're happy to have you with us here for the Indy Karting Challenge at the K1 circuit in Whiteland as they get themselves all lined up. Everyone looking good, everything looking clear. Green lights are on, and away we go. And already Yotze and Stoner battling it out for the race lead as the 33 drops back to P2. Stoner takes over the race lead as they jockey third on back.
Yeah, Stoner having a great run on Yotze there. He'll get some free air for the opening part of this race, but Yotze not going to let him get too far out in front. Speaking of far out in front, Evan Patton, it seems like he's losing him already just a little bit, but he started down in 4th, had to make a pass to get himself up into 3rd, so he's going to have to be perfect on these next couple of laps, or at least hope for Stoner and Yotze to start to battle, because they don't want to let him get away on such a short race like this. There's not a lot of time to recover from mistakes, as now the two out in front of Stoner and Yotze, who are still sliding the karts left and right, trying to get any sort of tire temperature into the rubber underneath them. Starting to work together, and Evan Patton starting to leave Lazier in the dust behind.
Absolutely, as Evan Patton sets fastest lap of the race so far. Lazier trying to make some ground and headway in 4th position as we watch this battle from 2nd on back. Yotze falls into the clutches of Evan Patton as they come into the corner, hairpin, heading over to the bank corner, and that is why we're going to see some great racing. Actually, a couple of drivers further back almost decided to go side by side into the bank corner as the new gen machine of Lucien Lazier struggling and not happy about what happened to him in that corner as he tries to make up time as Patton puts the pressure on Yotze.
Yeah, it's a really frustrating feeling for Lazier where, you've got no help from behind and you got drivers in front who are starting to work with each other where it's really hard to be able to close that gap as Stoner's still out in the lead. And you can see Lazier there on that gold new gen kart, really unable to do a lot to catch up to this front battle pack. Evan Patton resetting fast time last time across the stripe of 44.9 for him, the only driver to break into that 44-second bracket. As Yutzi looking to the inside, new race leader and junior Christopher Yutzi might bring Evan Patton through. He doesn't, so the two AMAX teammates demoted down to second and third. And for Mark Steele Motorsports on that Burrell Art chassis, Christopher Yutzi leading the way.
Yutzi does a great job and is now going to try to see if he can pull a little bit of a gap over the two AMAX machines as they try to see if they can work together. But AJ Stoner gets back onto the attack to see if he can put some more pressure on that Burrell Art of Chris Yutzi as they head down into the braking zone of the hairpin before they head to the banking. So far, not close enough to try anything just yet, but he is right in the toe, and if he can play it just right, he can get a really good run down this back straightaway into the next corner. Not close enough, backs off a little bit, tries to send it in on the inside, can't quite make it work. Here comes Evan Patton with a big run, though.
I think Yutzi thought that Stoner was going to go for it and left him room on the inside. He went wide there and was fully expecting AJ Stoner to make that move, but look at the gap that Yutzi already made there after making a mistake at the back half of the track. He had a few kart lengths to him, but now AJ Stoner might be in a prime position to pull up to the back end of that Burrell Art, leading the way and get past this time into turn 7 with just a minute 20 plus 2 remaining. You can see Lazier, though, falling way back into that battle for 4th and 5th on back. Dunn going to be trying to get by the new gen driver, unable to on his Kart Republic machine, and then Carson Benjamin and Thomas Anthony, the other two in that pack. But looking back towards the leader, Yutzi leads the way by 4/10 last time across the stripe. AJ Stoner still holding in second with Patton in third, as we'll continue to watch on with the Lazier-led pack in fourth.
Yeah, Lazier, unfortunately, due to the fact that mistake that he made out of the bank corner, lost a ton of time to the top 3 here for the moment, as you see him in the new gen machine trying to pull the Kart Republic and the Kubica kart right behind him as they work their way through. Then you have, I believe, a top kart right there in the mix, as here comes Parker Dunn to the inside and will take the 4th spot away. The 98 of Carson Benjamin in the Kubica kart trying to see if he can follow suit. Not going to work. He's got to worry about Thomas Anthony right behind him as they make the run down the front straightaway. 10 seconds plus 2 laps to go for them. Yutzi still holding strong as they work their way over towards the first couple of corners, heading off into the S's. And so far, Parker Dunn starting to stretch those legs out a little bit as here comes Benjamin to the inside of Lazier.
Yeah, Lazier getting by there as well in turn 5, and now Thomas Anthony trying to make his way by. He's just been stuck in that 7th spot, but 4 different chassis in that battle between Dunn, Lazier, Benjamin, and Anthony. Kart Republic, New Gen, Kubica, and Coyote. So 4 very different ways of going about making a kart. Usually you don't see Kart Republics doing too well in the junior to senior competition for 206 racing, just with how much grip those karts have, but in these cold and cool temperatures, it's enabling Parker Dunn to have a lot of pace underneath him. Back up front, though, Christopher Yutzi continues to lead the way over AJ Stoner and Evan Patton, the two AMAX drivers still trying to find a way past the Burrell Art, leading the way. Stoner might have a run on Yutzi this time in a 7, unable to, and it just seems like Yutzi has a good power plant underneath his right arm right now, Taylor.
Absolutely, Nate. As we watch them come out of the final corner, they should be getting the white flag this time by. Across the line, it is go time for the two AMAX drivers. Do they have anything left in the tank here to get around Christopher Yutzi for position? Meanwhile, Carson Benjamin got around Lucien Lazier, and trouble for Thomas Anthony. He falls all the way back to dead last, so he had a problem somewhere out on the track, unfortunately for him, in the 317. But meanwhile, back at the front of the field, here they they come across the back straightaway. Here comes Stoner down to the inside. He'll show the nose. He's not close enough, though, to try anything just yet on corner entry. Gets a good run off corner exit, though, to try to see if he can put the power down, but it's not going to work. Out of the final corner, Christopher Utzi and his Burrell Art will take the pre-final win in your 206 junior category. Beautiful drive for him as Stoner and Patton make it a 2-3 for them in their AMAX machines, followed by Parker Dunn in the Kart Republic and Carson Benjamin, your top 5.
Yeah, Utzi's going to be a difficult one to beat. We saw Utzi and Stoner just a couple years ago in the cadet classes battling out there. Now they have restarted their battle that we got to see in the IKC Challenge, CKNA, and Route 66 throughout the Midwest. So nice to see both of those two up at the front of the field where they belong. They'll be restarting their battle later on in the day for the final. We're moving quickly through this schedule to try and get back on time. The 206 Lights next out on track.
Yes, indeed. It is time for your 206 Lights, and we are about to turn them loose here momentarily. We'll give you the full field rundown of your starting lineup here momentarily. And it is the following in your 206 Lights starting grid. Goes as followed. On the pole position is Levi Wilbur, followed by Braden Heber. Then Colin Harden in row 2 with Clay Robbins. Row 3 will see Ethan Williams and Braden Johnson, Logan Lynch, and Colton Kelly in row number 4. In the top 10 in 9th is Andrew Petrie, followed by Andrew Goldman in 10th. And Gage Justiano will round out your 11 kart field. We have 10 karts on the track, so we'll see how this all plays out. And what should, if I remember correctly, looking over everything, should be the final heat race of the morning. Nope, we have one more with the cadet and junior shifter class. Then we will go straight into the finals immediately after this. So we should be get set to go here, and we will have them turned loose around for racing, and it's going to be exciting to watch. Of course, no points on the line for the shifter class that'll be happening, as we get the light category in the start tram zone and turn them loose here. As they cross the line, Heber, Harden, Robbins, Wilbur, some of your front runners. Do we get a green light? Yes, we do, and away they go.
Heber out to an early lead, but side by side with Harden. He's going to get demoted down a couple spots there, and I believe Braden Johnson getting an excellent getaway, might be up to second at this point. Crossing the timing scoring beacon, it is Braden Johnson up into that second spot. He was the driver who pulled off early in qualifying after just setting one lap and still held a front 3 starting row position. Talked to him a little bit, said that he totally forgot the track was wet. He had a setup on from yesterday meant for the dry, and he was about 10 to 15 pounds over. So Braden Johnson definitely going to be one to look out for after having not a great setup on for qualifying. He's already going to the lead. Put the AMAX driver to the front. The 141 of Braden Johnson leading the way.
Already, here comes the field here. Levi Wilbur leading the charge for Johnson. Heber trying to see if they can keep pace as they come down the front straightaway to first opening lap of the race. And it's going to be Johnson, Wilbur, Heber, Robbins, and Colton Kelly. That 141 machine of Braden Johnson has been one to watch here. He was one of the front runners in the championship last season. He's looking to show he has what it takes to be the new champion in your 206 light category.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the two Bradens between Johnson and Heber are going to be ones to look out for this year, but already Levi Wilbur up the inside in a turn 7, a new race leader yet again for these 206 light drivers, as Johnson's going to try an over-under. Late move to the inside for Braden Johnson that's going to allow Heber to get through as it is all kicking off here in the opening stages of 206 Light. It's only the heat race. We still have a final later on today, but Braden Johnson, after leading the way on the opening couple of laps, now back down to 4th, Taylor.
Absolutely incredible fight for position here as we see Wilbur and Heber now starting to break away, but not by much. Robbins and Johnson try to jockey around for position here to get themselves set up for a great run down the back straightaway. Here comes the drivers of Robbins and Johnson heading into the corner as we have a new pass for the race lead, and it's going to be Heber ahead of Wilbur as they come out of that corner and head to the final corner to go. Big run coming from Wilbur as he tries to pace with Heber, and so far not gonna work. Across the line, Braden Heber leads another lap. Robbins setting fast lap here as they try to work their way around the circuit once again, and here comes the big tow right now between Wilbur and Robbins, trying to see if they can work together to catch back up to Heber and get a good run down the back straightaway.
Yeah, talking about passing opportunities here, usually going the other direction on the what's considered the old circuit, you have a bit, you can make passes there. Going this clockwise direction, it seems to be a bit harder as Braden Johnson muscles his way through on Clay Robbins, who has the fastest lap of all of these drivers on track. So that's Johnson back up into third. Robbins will get to his rear bumper to try and push him up to the back end of the number 6 of Levi Wilbur as top 3 all setting their fastest times of the race. But Colton Kelly down in 5th, going purple. So watch out for the 38 machine closing in on these guys. Braden Heber, though, leading the way by almost half a second. But like we were saying, Taylor, the draft is so huge around here, especially onto this back section of the track, that it's going to be hard for Heber to be able to hold that gap.
Yeah, we just saw the 141 of Braden Johnson get back around Clay Robbins once again. One of the first times that we actually saw a pass going into that hairpin before the bank corner. But here comes Clay Robbins once again back on the attack along with Wilbur as they head down the front straightaway once again. A minute plus 2 laps to go across the line. And Heber sets a heater lap here with a 43.130. Johnson and Wilbur will swap positions once again as we watch these two drivers battle it out for the second position, but that battling too much is allowing Heber to pull further and further away as they head to the bank corner. Good run here as they're now all lined up nose to tail. This could be a big lap and a big push coming for Johnson to catch up to Heber.
Yeah, second, third, and fourth really just need to work together here. I think they're going to have about 3 or maybe 4 laps to go at the line, of course. Time starting to run down for these drivers and more swapping positions. That's not going to help their battle for the lead. Heber out in front by almost a second now. Braden Johnson in second. Heber going fastest again. Purple lap time for the number 8 Kart out in the lead, but Levi Wilbur, Kelly, Robbins, and Harden further back cannot figure out who wants to lead the charge to Braden Heber as Johnson now has no one to work with. And at this rate, I don't think he'll be able to catch up to Braden Heber, especially with how quick I believe that Ricardo Kart chassis is that Braden Heber is piloting out in front. So the Braden Johnson might have to chalk this one up as a P2 as more battling for position. I believe that's Colton Kelly getting by on Levi Wilbur as 2 to go this time by Taylor.
Absolutely. Colton Kelly was really showing some pace, but now drops back to P5 as we get that 2 to go signal. There you see those two battling along with Colin Harden right there in the hunt as well in 6th position. As the field works their way out of the hairpin, heading over towards the bank corner. Good run right here as we watch these drivers battle it out down the back straightaway. There you saw Johnson, and there you see Robbins and Kelly battling for that 4th spot. It's going to stay single file for the moment as they come around to take the white flag one more time around for Braden Heber in that Ricardo Kart to take home a heat race victory once again for him in the 206 light. But the battle for second between Johnson and Wilbur is going to be one to watch. Johnson, Wilbur, both of them setting some incredibly quick times. Wilbur sets fastest lap of the race as he puts the pressure on Braden Johnson for second.
Yeah, Johnson's going to have to be careful because Levi Wilbur, like you said, faster than anyone on track. Johnson did set almost his personal best, about half a tenth away from that as he's going to go defensive into turn 7. Johnson's going to hold it for the time being. Levi Wilbur still struggling for grip, though. Johnson is going to go defensive yet again into turn 10. He should hold it, but out in front, Braden Heber, your winner in the heat race, getting it done by almost 1.6 seconds. Make that 2.8 with all the battling we had behind. So he'll be starting on pole for the final later on today. There you can see your unofficial results from 206 Senior Light. Braden Johnson in second, then Levi Wilbur, Clay Robbins, Colton Kelly making up your top 5, then Colin Harden, Ethan Williams, Andre Petre, Andrew Goldman, and Logan Lynch, your 10 drivers in 206 Senior Light. And boy, Taylor, am I looking forward to the final later on. Hopefully we see a little bit of closer battling, but Braden Heber, an impressive run for him out in front.
A very impressive run indeed for Braden Heber in that Ricardo kart. He is going to be one to watch for sure, but it's now time to bang some gears and get set to go for lights out action here at Whiteland, or K1 Whiteland Circuit, as we are waiting for the shifter karts, cadets and junior multi-class racing shifter style. I see 4 karts out there on the staging area, and we will turn them loose. Maybe a couple of more by the looks of it further behind some of the poles and the barriers behind, but it's going to be one to watch. Exciting to see as we open the gates to release the hounds once again onto the track. And we'll give you your starting lineup here momentarily for the cadet and junior shifter class. Of course, no points are on the line. This is all just testing preparation for this category for future events in this championship. And I got to say, it's going to be one to watch here as the heat grid will go as followed. We have 3 karts in the cadet shifter with Danny O'Gara on the pole, followed by Dominic Gaddis, who did not set a time in the shifter class in cadets. And the junior shifters, it is as followed: Sam Tutwiler, AJ Stoner on the front row, and Lincoln Wiley, your 3 karts in that category. So it's 2 and 3, so a total of what should be 5 shifter karts heading out onto the circuit. As there you see one of them, the MPG machine. That was, I believe, O'Gara heading out onto the track, waiting on Gaddis to join him. As there you see Tutwiler heading out in the number 9. Could not get no number on that kart. The 477 or the 747 of Lincoln Wiley, and there goes, I believe that is that a factory kart that's heading out onto the track?
Believe so. AJ Stoner was another one of those drivers, I think, just with so many of them bowing out on the opening lap before they could even get a time down. The qualifying results aren't indicative of what we're seeing on track. A few more drivers will be starting this race. And rather interestingly, a lot of the drivers choosing not to be under the canopy for the start, trying to get as much heat into those tires just by sitting in the sun as possible. Usually, a lot of the traveling series come here in the summer months, so absolutely everyone is fighting for a spot underneath that canopy to make sure those tires don't get super heated on grid. But this early in the year, Taylor, at the end of March only, all of them are going to be hoping for any bit of tire temp, as AJ Stoner is already slowing to a halt at pit exit. There is a weight's fallen off. That's a good catch by AJ, because that would have been incredibly dangerous for a weight to fall off, whether that was from his own kart or from something he picked up. It was a good catch there by AJ Stoner.
Well, normally for those parts and pieces, there should be a number on the karts. So we'll see here as we got another formation lap before we set them up for the race. But yeah, it was pretty great for him to catch that, because that would have been detrimental if anyone would have hit that heading out onto the racetrack at full speed.
Yeah, absolutely. And for most race series now in the national and regional level, if you lose a weight on the weekend, that is you done and disqualified from the event. So not sure what K1 Circuit Whiteland has in their Indy Karting Challenge rulebook. Hopefully everyone can continue on the weekend, but yeah, a little bit of a scare there before we get going, as we'll have a bit of an interesting sight. Cadet and Junior will be fighting for the overall race win, as Dominic Gaddis, the driver that you mentioned there, Taylor, on that factory car, as they're into the tram lines, ready to go. It's going to be Cadet versus Junior into the lanes. We're going to get the green flag is O'Gara up the inside of Tutwiler, who will power around him and get cut off there at the apex of turn 8. Danny O'Gara on his Cadet MPG Motorsports machine leading the way on the opening laps.
Absolutely a great run for Danny O'Gara as he leads the charge. Great run of that MPG machine as he starts to pull away from Sam Tutwiler, as it's about a 4 to 5 kart length advantage between the two different classes. And then, of course, Dominic Gaddis out on track a little further back in this. As there they go, heading up towards the bank corner. These karts just ripping around in these shifter karts, banging the gears. And here comes Tutwiler with a big run, trying to see if he can catch up to Danny O'Gara here in these closing laps.
Yeah, Tutwiler looking like he's on an older comp kart chassis, so maybe not up to spec with what the rest of these drivers are on. Some fairly newer machinery, I presume, for those around him. So if that is the case for Tutwiler, he's doing a good job holding on to what he's got, as AJ Stoner might be looking for a move in the next couple of laps here, as he is right on the back end of Sam Tutwiler going through the banked corner. Another thing to mention for these guys to get used to, obviously, the gear shifting that they're not going to be used to in the 206 micro or mini categories, but the front brakes is something that a lot of drivers were struggling with at K1 circuit over in California for the Pro Kart Challenge. You could definitely tell what drivers were able to utilize those the most to find lap times. That's could be something we see here as well. Both cadet and juniors utilizing those front brakes. Taylor as O'Gara losing the rear end a little bit there in turn 5, and that's allowing Tutwiler and Stoner to close in for the race lead.
Absolutely. Here they come. Big run. Tutwiler to the inside. Here comes Stoner as well as he tries to get around O'Gara for the second place overall. And they're going to go side by side. O'Gara manages to hold second, but Tutwiler checks out on the competition.
Yeah, Tutwiler using the extra horsepower that he has compared to Danny O'Gara on that back straight to make it a bit of an easy pass. Didn't have to do it under braking or anything, as AJ Stoner starting to fall off the back end of that 67 MPG Motorsports Kart Republic, piloted by Danny O'Gara in that second spot. That is Lincoln Wiley running in 4th at the moment, 3.1 back from the battle for the podium. Even though this is a non-points paying class, these drivers still going to be wanting to give it their absolute 100% to try and see that checker flag first today.
Absolutely. I mean, even though, like you said, it's not a championship points event, it's still just a good way for these young cadets and junior drivers to learn about shifter racing and, learn about how to go about learning the kart, getting used to the mechanics, as well as just trying to handle the importance of making sure you hit that clutch, hit the shifter to make sure you hit your marks on entry, exit, every which way you can. So hopefully one day where enough people can build this class up to where we could have a championship series in this category at any local karting circuit, not just here at Indy, but also around the country.
Yeah, obviously it's awesome to see the momentum that this package is having, obviously with a fairly solid field full of factory karts at K1 circuit in California for the opener of the Pro Kart Challenge. That was a healthy field, and this is also an incredibly healthy field for the first time this category has ever been run. Hopefully it can just build from here, and like you said, Taylor, we might be seeing this on some series like Superkarts USA Pro Tour in a few years' time.
Absolutely, and I think that would be probably one of the most exciting classes. I know the pro shifters and the X30s, but we know how aggressive just junior and cadet drivers can be compared to the pro drivers. I can only just imagine what it would be like for this category to have a cadet junior category and just watching these young kids and these future superstars go at it in such high performance karts.
Yeah, it would definitely be fun to see. A ton of cadet and junior drivers going at it like the Super Nationals in a few years' time. So fingers crossed for that one. Out on track, though, about 10 seconds remaining. So they're going to get about 3 laps to go. Sam Tutwiler is being closed in by AJ Stoner, who continues to just demolished that gap between the two of them. It was a 37.7 last time by for AJ Stoner, which was your fastest lap of the race, as he is purple, but almost a second faster than Sam Tutwiler did, a 38.5. So about 7/10 was closed down for AJ Stoner. Up the inside, gets the move done. So new race leaders, they'll go side by side through turn 8. Kink of 9 and into turn 10. We should get 6 in the air, 2 to go. This time by for our junior and cadet shifters. We do cross the time and scoring beacon. They go. New leader Taylor, AJ Stoner.
Absolutely a great run for AJ Stoner. He had a little bit of issues there, but he was able to recover as trouble for Dominic Gaddis further back. You saw him as he tries to get himself going, but great run for AJ Stoner to get himself up through the field, setting fastest lap of the race, and is looking to take home the pre-final win as we saw Tutwiler slide that cart through the middle of turn 7, gathers it back up, but to no avail. AJ Stoner in the number 4 takes the pre-final win in your junior shifter category. Danny O'Gara looking to take the cadet shifter win as well, 3rd overall. A great drive for both these two young superstars, as well as for Sam Tutwiler to keep up with the pace as best he can. But a lot to go back and learn on with these shifter carts as they work their way down across into the final corner, heading down the straightaway. And he is looking to come around here, and with a big run, slides the cart for the final time. And as they work their way in through the final corner, now AJ Stoner should get the checkered flag and take home the win here in cadet and junior shifters.
Dominant run for AJ Stoner once he got past Sam Tutwiler. Be looking forward to seeing the final later on the day for these guys. There is your unofficial results from the cadet and junior shifters. AJ Stoner, Sam Tutwiler, Danny O'Gara, Lincoln Wiley, and Dominic Gaddis, your 5 drivers in that field. 3 of them being junior shifters, 2 of them in the cadet shifter category. And hopefully we'll see this class build even more throughout the IKC season. So we'll be moving into our main events here shortly, Taylor.
Absolutely. It is time for main event. We go back to the top with our 206 cadets. We're going to step aside, take a quick little commercial break while they clean the track off. You're watching Kart Chasers coverage of the Indy Karting Challenge season opener live from the K1 circuit in Whiteland.
Brandon, why are there all these charges for just over $200 from Acceleration Kart Racing's website?
That's because AKR gives you free shipping on orders of $200 or more within the continental US.
Okay, but I thought you were just getting a pair of gloves. That's what, 70 bucks?
But if I'm getting a new pair of gloves, I might as well get a new pair of shoes to match. And then on top of that, I'll get a neck brace because with the shipping, it's basically free.
Yeah, I do not think the math checks out on that.
Everything you need, all in one place and shipped to your door for free for orders of $200 or more. Exclusions apply. Spend responsibly. Shop AKR.com.
Ty Fisher wins $1,000 in KA100 Junior.
Alex Stanfield played it perfectly here, told him to wait. Stanfield wins the Duffy in 2024 for TV Karts.
Amarillo Kart Complex is now the official distributor for TV Kart in the continental U.S. Become a dealer today.
DPK Americas is bridging the gap between the U.S. and the two-time world champion DPK Alonso Kart factory team in Europe.
In partnership with Team Binnick, they offer drivers a complete career path from the Americas to Europe that allows them to continue their driver development on both sides of the world, all underneath the DPK umbrella.
For more information, contact DPK Americas at max@drivensm.com to take the next step in your driver development journey today.
Let's go race.
Come on, man. So you finally want to get behind the wheel, huh?
Yeah, I've been shooting for 3 years and I've never got to drive.
Well, you're gonna need some more gear than just your helmet. Why don't you go to shopakr.com? They got their inventory online and they'll ship it the same day.
Well, after a little bit of practice, a little bit of qualifying, some pre-final action, it is time to give out some trophies this morning. It's time for the finals action this morning here at the K1 Circuit, Whiteland, for the season opener of the Indy Karting Challenge. Taylor Burris here, back with Nate Dean, and it is time for your 206 cadets to get start with their finals action here today. And it's going to be one of excitement and a lot of great racing action here in this category. 206 cadets up on the docket to get themselves ready to go. And here is your starting grid for the 206 cadets. On the pole is James Fox in that number 12 Top Kart, followed by Patrick McNeely in the 538. In row 2, we'll see Bo Lazier, followed by Diesel Maxwell, with Miles Hale in 5th position. Row in 6th spot is Harper Smith, followed by Kyler Hendrickson and Enzo Senior. And in 5th is going to be Oliver Shanahan, who got a DSQ, a disqualification by the looks of it. So a tough break for Oliver, so hopefully he can work his way up through the field in your 206 cadets. A little talking to from race officials to the drivers, and we'll hopefully get to turn them loose when they come out of this big sweeping corner of the bank corner here before heading down the back straightaway. And officials telling drivers to slow down here. Gonna have a little talking to the young guns.
Just getting everyone formed up and ready to go to get as fair of a start as possible for these drivers. First final of the day here at Whiteland. Should be all ready to go here, Taylor, as they'll be making their way nice and slow into the tram lines in a few moments' time.
10 minutes plus 2 laps for each of these classes here in the finals as they head down into the start zone. A little too fast. Do we get the green? Yes, we do. Green flag is out, and away we go. And already a great jump by Patrick McNeely to take over the race lead here on the opening couple of corners. Across the line, they will head out to the final corner. But here comes James Fox already to the inside, looking to take over the race lead as they cross the line. It will be McNeely who will lead on the opening lap. Fox in second. Then 3 seconds back, you'll find Miles Hale, Diesel Maxwell in 4th, and Oliver Shanahan, who we're going to be watching in 6th position. Got a lot of work to do as we watch James Fox. Trouble for him. He is out of the race. What happened? Something must have broke on that number 12 Top Kart machine for sure, as McNeely has a major advantage over the competition.
Yeah, not what James Fox needed at all there. With how slow speed of a corner turn 3 is, and with the nature of these 206s, if you lock them up in just the right way and the clutch disengages the engine, you can stall them. And it's hard to do sometimes, but like I said, at a low speed like that, it's very possible that James Fox's engine just came to a grounding halt outside of turn 3 as he stopped in turn 4. Unsure if officials are able to help out Fox to get him refired. As you can see there, they're trying to get him into a safe position, so he'll go a lap down, and that is pretty much day over for James Fox. That thing does not seem to be refiring. We'll have to get word on what that was, Taylor, but a really bizarre incident to start things off.
Absolutely bizarre, especially for one of your favorite front runners. But for Patrick McNeely, already a 6.5 advantage over Diesel Maxwell in 2nd. Oliver Shanahan, he is quite a ways back. He was another driver who was one of the front runners in the pre-finals until a penalty was given out to him. So a tough break for him as well. So we'll keep an eye see if Bo Lazier can maybe hunt down and fight his way up through the field to catch up to Patrick McNeely. But it's going to be a long haul. Meanwhile, for Patrick McNeely, it's just a Saturday afternoon or Saturday morning drive for him here today.
Yeah, 8.9 seconds out in front is definitely impressive on these opening couple of laps. Diesel Maxwell probably won't be able to make that time up on pace alone. McNeely's been quick throughout the day. So you can see there just how big the gaps are between these drivers. Like we saw, Taylor, in the heat race earlier on in the morning, lap traffic did come into play that time, and that was less than half of the race distance that we had in this final. So we might be hitting lap traffic once or maybe even twice for McNeely, so that will definitely play a factor for the drivers in 2nd and 3rd to keep their head down, not give up, and if everything goes their way and a little bit of misfortune for McNeely clearing that lap traffic, anything is still possible with just under 7 minutes to go.
Ooh, a little bit of a slide right there by the 08 machine of Bo Lazier right there. Gathers that back up. Miles Hale's trying to keep pace with him as well in his top kart as they work their way around the circuit. That is probably one of the best battles to be watching, is for the 3rd spot as they now start to space out just a little bit. Diesel Maxwell still comfortable in 2nd position as Patrick McNeely runs another personal best time for him as he sets the pace with a 46.37. So really just firing away in all that he needs as Maxwell comes across the line 11.5 seconds behind.
Yeah, McNeely doing what he needs to do there is really the only way to explain that. He's been very impressive in the opening phases of this race, and it seems like he's just getting quicker as the day goes on. Obviously, the track is starting to warm up, so times will start to drop even more, especially for these cadet drivers that kind of struggle to find the limit like the junior and the seniors do, especially with not as much mechanical grip in those karts as you'll see in the upper echelons of the categories. But McNeely still waiting to see what the gap is, because that's how far Diesel Maxwell is back. It's 13.1 seconds, Taylor. He went 1.5 seconds faster than the 141 AMAX machine that you see there. I believe he's on a Coyote kart this year. He is. Diesel making some Micro Swift outings as well on the national scene. He was at the United States Pro Kart Series race at Daytona International Speedway. He had a really rough go at it. It was a learning weekend for him in AMAX in that category. But running 2nd now should get his spirits up a little bit more.
Absolutely. It's going to be a good one for him, as there you see the 141 of Diesel Maxwell lurking his way through the field and just trying to make sure he hits his marks. Of course, Patrick McNeely, a great season last time out, was finishing 2nd in the 206 Cadet Championship. Just a little bit behind the champion last season of Regan Hodges as we watch Diesel Maxwell. Maxwell finished 8th in the championship last season, and that was after missing over half the season in 2024. He didn't make his first debut race till round 8 of the championship and still managed to get some valuable points and a top 10 finish out of a total of 27 different drivers who made starts in this championship last season.
Yeah, and I'm not looking at points right now, Taylor, but I assume that's him moving up from the Kid Kart ranks, because that's where he was in CKNA and Route 66 competition, so he probably got to the age where he can move up into cadets last year, and will now start his first full season this year. 15 seconds back is the gap between himself and McNeely, who hasn't been able to touch his fastest time that he set a few laps ago, 1.2 seconds quicker than Maxwell that time by. You see him in that all-white cart that just went by through turns 7 and 8 on screen now. Beau Lazier running in that third spot, final driver on that podium for the new gen racing team, making his way through turn 5. Everyone's starting to spread out a little bit, not as close of battling like we saw in the heat race earlier on today, but it's just the nature of the cadet class in these really tricky conditions.
Closest battle on the track that I can see from our timing screen is the battle for 4th between the 15 of Miles Hale and the number 2 of Oliver Shanahan, who is sitting in 5th. So the 2 and the 15, we'll see if we can pick them up somewhere out there on the circuit and keep an eye on those two battling for position as another lap is down. 3 minutes plus 2 laps to go for your leaders as they come across the line. It is now 16.2 seconds. There you see Miles Hale in the top cart and Shanahan right there behind as he tries to put the pressure on to move into the 4th spot. As actually the leader, McNeely, not too far from these two right here. So it could be a little bit interesting. A little bit of a tap right there from Oliver Shanahan. He'll try to look to the inside as they come up to the bank corner. Not going to work for him. He loses a little bit of time to Miles Hale in the top cart.
Yeah, and behind him on the Pantano chassis, one of the new chassis we've seen for the 2025 season. Saw it a little bit in 2024, Taylor, but in the build up to this race, we were talking about if there's really any major chassis shakeups, and saying not really, apart from Pantano being fairly new on the scene, and at least in the United States. They've had success over in Europe bringing that chassis over to the US. We saw a lot more of them at the other K1 circuit for the Pro Kart Challenge over in California. They're starting to make their way over here into the Midwest, so nice to see another option for karters in the Midwest as these two are still going at it for position.
It really is great to see more chassis come across from Europe to come join us in racing, and we hope more and more of that will happen because there is a lot of great chassis manufacturers that have come from Europe that can make their way over, and of course a couple of American-built chassis that are starting to make their way up the rankings here. Of course, Factory Kart, one of the ones that we've been talking about for the past couple of years now, and of course Coyote trying out some new things. We're starting to see a lot of the Coyotes coming into regional series in Texas, of course, as we watch on as Miles Hale and Oliver Shanahan still battle for that 4th position. And also continuing on, it is still Patrick McNeely with under a minute to go, plus 2 laps, still leading the charge by, let's just say, 20 seconds at the moment, as here comes a big run, as that is McNeely right there behind, about to put those two a lap down.
Yeah, so McNeely's just got to be careful not to get involved in this battle, just make those passes quickly, but depending on where McNeely does get by, these drivers could close or build the gap between this battle. Blue flag being brought out there, a little late, but anyway, McNeely just being very cautious to get past these two. I think he knows he's got a 20-second gap between himself and Diesel Maxwell in second. That gap is just continuing to grow. He put 1.3 on Maxwell last time by. This time across, still waiting for Diesel Maxwell. 21.2 seconds for McNeely. That is quite the gap. Is really he's just able to sit behind these two for the rest of the race if he wanted to. He's still trying to find a way past round the outside of almost both of them. As he gets past them, that's gonna make the battle for fourth here even tighter as that held up Hale just a little bit. But coming to the line, Taylor, 2 to go, 6 in the air, this time by Ford McNeely after what has been a dominant run for him.
McNeely, I can only imagine if we had James Fox still in this race, how this battle would be, because McNeely has absolutely put on a clinic here today as he works his way up to the banking. He's got 2 more laps to go for him. Meanwhile, for Hale and Shanahan, they're still battling for the 4th spot. It's starting to break off just a little bit, but McNeely continuing to set lap time after lap time, and Maxwell did pick up a 2nd. We'll give him a little credit. He found a way to pick up some speed last time by, but 20 seconds in 1 lap, not really going to be able to make up that time whatsoever. Down the front straightaway, here to get the white flag one more time around for Patrick McNeely in that 5:38 machine. And all we can say is one word: domination from flag to flag here today as he hits his marks out for a Saturday morning drive here in beautiful Whiteland, Indiana, as he tries to get the run up through here onto the banking for the final time down the back straightaway. No pressure whatsoever. Just hit your marks, coast your way through. And of course, as I said that last time by, he set the fastest lap of the race with a 46.067. And as he snakes his way through the final couple of corners, Patrick McNeely will take win number 1 of 2025 and is looking to take the fight for this championship here in the Indy Karting Challenge. McNeely, your winner in 206 Cadets.
Like you said, Taylor, domination is going to wait for Diesel Maxwell to cross the line. Just over 20 seconds of a gap after 10 minutes plus 2 laps of racing is an incredible drive by him. There's Diesel crossing the line. And like you said, it's unfortunate for James Fox what this race would have been if he was out there and fighting for the win. Hopefully in the later parts of the IKC season, we see him battling for wins without that mechanical difficulty that we saw at the start of this race. But still, hats off to McNeely on a dominant run.
And also, if you think about it too, the Indy Karting Challenge is a great championship for those who want to get involved with club racing at just one track to learn. There's multiple different configurations. So if you're tuning in and new to the world of karting and want to have either your kid or you yourself get involved, reach out to this organization and find out what you can do to learn more and become a part of the Indy Karting Challenge. And we would like to see more cadets, more drivers in the sportsman category, more drivers in the Masters and in the KA series that are racing here this weekend. And we want to have full field, I have to say, and bring out more drivers to come out competing in the Indy Karting Challenge here at the K1 circuit in Whiteland.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great place to get started. It's a challenging course, but it's one of those where if you really get this one nailed down, then you're going to be pretty set for whatever track you go to after that. Engines are fired for our sportsmen as MPG Motorsports will lock out the front row there as we're getting them ready to go. Some final words from Chase Jones to Dominic Gaddis, who starting on pole position for him, or at least outside pole. But yeah, pole position for Dominic Gaddis. They're checking something over on the right side of that kart. Getting fired there. Might have just been a couple of issues with the carburetor or something, but we are opening the gates, getting these guys ready to go for our second main event of the day.
Absolutely. Here is your starting lineup on the pole position. It is Will Fighting Sure on the pole, followed by Dominic Gaddis in second. Row 2, we'll see Danny O'Gara, followed by Elam Stoner in fourth. Row 3 will be Blake Martinez and Christopher Heinzen in sixth spot. Row 4 is Courtney Robbins, followed by Miller Rusa in eighth position. And, of course, Kaysen Hendrickson had a disqualification also due to the fact of issues that they had during their pre-final event earlier this morning. As field trouble, though, for the 38 machine out on track. That is Blake Martinez. Trouble for him as he's trying to see if he can get fired back up, and little top hat there on his air filter cooler.
That's a different one than
that is a different
what we've
one.
seen. Like we were saying, Yeah, like we were saying, everyone has their own ways of covering up that air filter, and of course, with it being wet off track and still wet offline, everyone wanting to save that engine is, I think Whiteland staff are going to try and get them rolling again, but it might be a little too late for the 38 machine.
Tough break indeed right there for him, as that's got to be the worst feeling. We saw it like a week ago in Australia, as we saw in other forms of racing, where they're going to get one more lap here because they are not lined up. But, if you think about it, mechanical failures or even some cases a crash before you even take start in a race is one of the most gut-wrenching feelings, I would have to say, in any form of motorsports.
Yeah, absolutely. It just leaves you with a what could have been for the race that you didn't get to participate in. And especially for these guys, you're not running on Sunday for most of these rounds. It is a one and done type deal. So for your race to be over for your day to be over and weekend to be over just after noon is kind of a defeating feeling, as they're not going to get that machine up and rolling. So already one DNF so far to at least in this race, as the MPG Motorsports duo will come out of the banked corner of turn 6 and get them into the tram lines and ready to go for our second main event of the day.
As the field works their way out of the corner, down the back straightaway, into the tram line, everything looks clean and clear to go racing. We'll wait from officials to see if we'll get the go-ahead. 10 minutes plus 2 laps to go here in this race. And as we watch on and see, so far so good. Do we get the green flag? Yes, we do. Green is out, and away we go. Fightinger gets a great run over the competition, but here comes Gaddis as well in that MPG. And out of the final corner to start the opening lap, it is going to be, by the looks of it, Gaddis, Fightinger, and then O'Gara right there in the hunt across the line. Gaddis leads the way. How about Stoner moving up to P2 in this hunt in the 41 machine?
Yeah, Elam Stoner, that was a good jump for him on that number 41 Coyote prepared AMAX machine, making their way out of 5 through 6 shortly and back down straightaway. That could provide some passing opportunities into turn 7. Past the starting zone that they opened this race with just a lap ago, it's going to be Dominic Gaddis leading the way, and Daniel Guerra making it so he has to make his way through the field yet again, down in 4th this time, and not having to do his last to first antics like he did in the heat race earlier on this morning. But still, it's a bit of a mountain to climb for Daniel Gear to get by 3 drivers that are well-versed here around K1 Circuit Whiteland.
Absolutely. It is MPG leading the charge there. Then you have I believe that's the Coyote right there in the hunt in second, then another MPG Kart Republic, and then the top Kart. Then you have a group of 3 right behind for 5th on back with Heisen, Robbins, and Hendrickson in the hunt, heading down into the corner. That Coyote machine of Elam Stoner found something to be able to be in the hunt for this race win, as trouble for one driver. That is Fightinger, who loses it off corner exit, gathers it back up, but loses a ton of time on the top 3.
Yeah, not what he would have wanted at all, and he's going to have to hope that these guys start to battle, because he's now 1.9 seconds behind his MPG Motorsports teammate of Dominic Gaddis. Watching sportsman racing, usually they're fairly smart for their age. They leave battling for the final couple of laps, so it's going to be hard for Will to make his way back up to that lead, and honestly might fall into the clutches of drivers behind that have that draft and are working with each other. Daniel Guerra, though, up the inside of Elam Stoner, put him and Top Kart USA into second place. So now it's between him and Dominic Gaddis that we saw so many battles between, both on the club and regional level throughout 2024. Surely going to be in for a good battle here, Taylor, between these two, because they have such good racecraft for their ages, side by side out of 3 and 4. O'Gara making a move that I don't think Dominic Gaddis saw coming. So now Danny O'Gara doing exactly what he did last race. He's out to an early lead, but it's going to be hard for him to defend from Stoner and Gaddis behind.
Yeah, that's my concern is we saw how quickly he was able to get to the front in the pre-final today, but how he was still slowing down, though, towards the end. Like, the tire pressures were pumped up significantly for him to get a good run up through the field in the pre-final. But now the concern is, will the tire pressures fall off and that tire tread fall off for him in order to maintain the race lead here today in that top cart? Meanwhile, while Gaddis and, of course, Fighting Sure also had good runs. Fighting Sure has a little bit of work to do, though, as he's closing back into this group of three. They have what it takes to have the better tire pressures, the better grip out there as this race progresses? And same thing for Stoner. That's the one I'm surprised about right now, sitting comfortably in third as we watch this battle for fifth coming around as Heisen, Robbins, and Hendrickson battle for that fifth spot as they come down the back straightaway. MPG holding the charge as they head down into the braking zone. And there you see that machine of Hendrickson and Robbins battling it out for position as Heisen pulls away as O'Gara leads that lap last time by.
Yeah, and Danny not having the fastest pace of everyone in that front group. They're all stuck in the 43 as well. Drivers further behind are going quicker. Still more battling going on between, I believe that's Case and Hendrickson and a couple other drivers. They're well out of the fight for the win at this point, so they're just going to continue to battle on side by side through the banked corner of turn sixes. Not something you want to be doing too often, but they survive that time around. Further up the field, though, I'd like to take a look at Danny O'Gara, Dominic Gaddis, and Elam Stoner. Their battle as O'Gara builds that gap up to 0.6 of a second. There you can see them as you can throw a fair amount of karts in between O'Gara and Gaddis. So Dominic either not having the best of laps last time around or Danny O'Gara really starting to settle in at this stage of the race.
I think that might be the case because Fighting Sure also has caught back up to your top three as well. So keep an eye on those three drivers of what they can do to catch back up to O'Gara as we try to follow suit here around this circuit. And 4 minutes 40 seconds plus 2 laps across the line. The gap between your first and second is about 0.4 of a second at the moment. Gaddis still holding strong in that MPG. He's got his teammate of Fighting Sure right behind in fourth position between the Coyote of Elam Stoner right there in the mix. Case and Hendrickson is fifth, some 11 seconds back. So it is basically a 4-horse race for the race lead at this moment as they work their way down the back straightaway into the braking zone. Danny O'Gara in the top cart really hitting his marks, but here comes Gaddis with a big run and help from Stoner and Fighting Sure to make sure they don't lose track of O'Gara.
Yeah, O'Gara lost 1.5 to Dominic Gaddis last time by, losing a little under 1/10 this time. So Dominic Gaddis and co has found pace on Danny O'Gara. So that top cart machine leading the way with Danny O'Gara behind the wheel could be starting to fall off like we saw in the heat race earlier on today. So Danny O'Gara is going to have to start playing defense for the time remaining, Taylor. There's about just under 3.5 minutes to go, and then obviously plus 2 laps is Elam Stoner now for Amax and Coyote, making his way up into second and demoting the 2 MPG drivers down to third and fourth now.
So now that's going to cause a little bit of a breakaway now for O'Gara with those 3 battling it out for position. Last time by, about a second or 1/10 of a second goes to Stoner, who was able to close the gap significantly. He is on a bit of a tear, and Stoner, but also wasn't in contention. I got to ask, other than tire pressures, Nate, what other adjustments could Elam Stoner might have done in order to have this much pace in this race?
With the track heating up, drivers could have taken a little bit of grip out of the kart. It's all depending on what the driver needed throughout the races, but it very well could have been that this track is really starting to heat up as the day goes on, as the sun continues to beat down on it, and Elam Stoner and the Amax team might have found a winning setup on that kart on his Coyote machine. Obviously, a little bit hard to tell. These drivers and teams have a much better idea of what the track is doing and where the pace is than we do, but Obviously, AMAX being based here at K1 Circuit Whiteland know this track like the back of their hand. That being said, so is Top Kart and MPG, the other two teams that are in this fight as well. So that's making this battle for the lead even more interesting. Not just a battle between drivers, but a battle between teams on their home turf.
Absolutely. It's a home game for all three of these teams, and it's who wants to show dominant supremacy around this circuit once again as they enter into the corner. 1.5 minutes plus 2 laps to go here for your front runners. Meanwhile, Will Fightingshire still has set the fastest lap of the race last time by, though some personal best from Stoner and Gaddis last time by. They picked up another 0.2 on your race leader. They are all over the back bumper. Here comes Stoner down to the bottom of the racetrack in that AMAX Coyote machine and takes over the race lead. Here comes Gaddis as well, trying to see if he can get around for second. Not close enough for the time being as they come down the front straightaway with 1 minute plus 2 laps to go.
Yeah, it's going to get spicy here for the race lead. Elam Stoner hasn't seen fresh air this race so far, and Danny O'Gara will be desperately wanting to try and get back up to the front. There's some drivers who are okay pushing, other drivers who just like to see free air when they can. Danny O'Gara, definitely one of those drivers that like to lead a pack. So, the second he gets to the back end of Stoner's rear bumper, he's going to try and make a move as Feishinker getting by on Danny O'Gara. That's going to move Will up another spot as time starts to tick down in the final parts of this race.
Absolutely, as they come around 15 seconds ago, so about 3 laps left to go in the race. There you see the AMAX Coyote driver of Elam Stoner looking to see what he can do here today in your 206 Sportsman division, as he is getting a great run. As a little bit of a mistake right there. This could open up the door for Fightingshire to put his nose down to the inside. Not going to work out, though, for the time being. Elam Stoner last year ran, as here comes Fightingshire, as well as Danny O'Gara. These two out now as we see Stoner drop back to P3 as they come around to get the 2 to go signal this time by. Some of your championship front runners and a newcomer battling it out here in your 206 Sportsman division as they head down to get the 2 sticks in the air.
Yeah, O'Gara is all over the back end of that MPG Motorsports machine that's leading the way. I think we might have lap traffic to deal with as well. You just saw one go through the banked corner. I think that's the only one that we'll have to deal with, so hopefully they stay out of the race and we're able to let these 4 battle it out for the win. They'll see white flag next time across the stripe. No moves being made. They're saving that for the final lap of the race. Dominic Gaddis down there in 4th is going to have to make some mega moves to try and get by and battle for this race win, or hope they hold each other up. But Taylor, white flag in the air this time by, and it's surely going to get interesting here.
It certainly is, as the field works their way through the S's, heading over into the bank corner section of the circuit. And it's so far Fightingshire holding strong lap traffic up ahead as well of Christopher Hines that they're about to put a lap down as they head down into the bank corner, down the back straightaway. Big run here. Fightingshire goes defensive on the bottom of the racetrack. Stoner as well as O'Gara try to follow suit. O'Gara goes topside, couldn't make it work as they snake their way through the kink, heading into the final corner. And it is going to be MPG that will take the first win of the season in the Sportsman class. Checkered flag in the air. Across the line, Fightingshire wins in 206. Sportsman's ahead of O'Gara by 0.06 of a second right there.
That was close for Will at MPG Motorsports. Danny O'Gara was so close to taking that away, just 0.5 like you said there, but bodes well for the rest of the season. It should be fun to watch how this championship unfolds, because you got 4 drivers that are definitely able to fight for a title, and who's to say if some other drivers like Kaysen Hendrickson find time throughout the season, this can't be a 5-way battle for the lead. There you see unofficial results for your 206 Sportsman classes. Right behind, we are getting set for more on-track action. You can pick out your favorite driver throughout there. as we'll be getting ready to go with the 3-in-1 class. Next up, as engines begin to fire, you have 206 Masters, 206 Legends, and 206 Supermasters on track next.
Brandon, why are there all these charges for just over $200 from Acceleration Kart Racing's website?
That's because AKR gives you free shipping on orders of $200 or more within the continental US.
Okay, but I thought you were just getting a pair of gloves. That's what, 70 bucks?
But if I'm getting a new pair of gloves, I might as well get a new pair of shoes to match. And then on top of that, I'll get a neck brace because with the shipping, it's basically free.
Yeah, I do not think the math checks out on that.
Everything you need, all in one place and shipped to your door for free for orders of $200 or more. Exclusions apply. Spend responsibly. Shop AKR.com.
So you finally want to get behind the wheel, huh?
Ready to elevate your racing game? Introducing Apex, your 24/7 personal karting coach. Apex is your ultimate racing companion. Get expert advice anytime, anywhere. From setup tips to mental strategies, Apex has you covered. Fine-tune your car for peak performance. Get personalized advice on adjustments like tire pressure and chassis settings. Apex helps you master the track, from overtaking strategies to wet-weather driving techniques, and to resilience to perform under pressure. Apex keeps you focused, confident, and race-ready.
Using Apex is simple. Sign up, ask your question, and receive instant advice from top-tier coaches. With Apex, your personal karting coach, you're never alone. Get instant expert advice on everything from setup to technique. Unlock your full potential with Apex. Your journey to victory starts here. Happy racing.
Colin, I need a new 219 chain. I need a 77 toothbrush sprocket. I need some more chain lube, and I need it probably as soon as like tomorrow. Dude, are you even listening? Like, we need this to run this weekend.
Want anything else?
What do you mean?
I already got it in the Kart on Acceleration Kart Racing's online store, bro. All orders over $200 get free shipping.
Oh, throw in a set of tires.
Done.
Everything you need, all in one place and shipped to your door for free on orders of $200 or more. Exclusions apply. Shop akr.com.
K1 Circuit.
Welcome back to the Indy Karting Challenge live on Kart Chaser from the K1 circuit in Whiteland. Taylor Burris here along with Nate Dean as we are getting set for our first multi-class event, the 206 Masters, the 206 Legends, and the 206 Supermasters as trouble for one machine, the 75, and that new gen machine. Something must have happened right there. We're curious to see what it issues. He's pointing down just around the throttle. But unfortunately, that cart... Oh, what is that?
Looks... It's not a motor mount, is it? That's interesting to see from the new gen.
That's very interesting. It's like I saw it, next thing we know, pick the cart up and... Curious to see if they're going to be able to get going with that, but safe to say, it's going to be interesting to see what will happen as the field's already coming around to start their formation. They're going to let the 75 go. But the question is he going to be out of the race, or is he going to be able to start? And by the looks of it, no, he's pulling off circuit. Field's entering the tram line here. Oh, looks like we're going to go one more time around.
And it might just be the 75 waiting up for the rest of the field. It could have been something he picked up offline from a previous class, and that was just dragging under his floor plan and worrying him a little bit. It might not necessarily have been off of his cart, but definitely a very odd one to see at the opening stage of this race. They'll send him around again to get him reformed up to get the 75 new gen back in position there, but an odd one at the start of this one, Taylor.
Yeah, when they were heading in towards the start area, that first corner, as you should take the green flag, he went a little bit wide. That was, of course, Brian Williams of that new gen 75 machine as he now rejoins in line. So one of your front runners in the 206 Legends categories. And then we saw them pick up the cart, saw that piece that was on the underneath the cart, get it back going. So everything seems to be good to go. Everyone's lined up, waiting to see if we'll get a green flag run, which we should. And waiting, see if everything's clean and green. So far, so good. And away we go. 206 Legends, Masters, and Supermasters to do battle here for the morning session. And away we go. One cart gets a little bit loose as two carts looping around off into the first couple of corners. And so far, other than that, it is a clean start for your front runners as Tony leads the charge in the new gen number 24 machine. Hastings in hot pursuit with Williams and Harleman in third and fourth.
Yeah, Tony, last race building about a little over half a second on the opening lap. This time, 4/10 less than that. He's got drivers within a tenth and a half of him, so he's going to have to play defensive from the word go here in 206 Master, Supermaster, and Legend. Already going defensive into turn 7 on lap 1. Love to see it as you have about 6 drivers in with a shot of this win so far. But obviously with this being a 10 lap plus 2 race around Whiteland, it's a very difficult track. We're going to have more of those guys in that lead battle start to fall off. But Troy Tony leading the way for New Gen is a 44.6 is the fastest time on circuit at the moment. He builds that gap up to 2.5 tenths over Derek Hastings, but Hastings on that number 13 cart with that front fairing repaired from a damaged cart last race. Looks like he's going to the lead, so put Hastings to the top of the pylon. New leader is Troy Tony, getting demoted down a spot.
And it's a tough break as here comes Hastings and company of following around as they work their way down across the backstretch onto the front straightaway. They will go across the line. 8 minutes plus 2 laps to go. Hastings, your new leader. Tony dropping back. Williams right there in a hot pursuit as Evan McCordale sets fastest lap of the race so far, sitting comfortably in the 6th spot. as we'll see how this all plays out. Williams trying to keep up pace in this group as the top three starting to break away.
Yeah, this could get interesting. It's the biggest lead pack we've seen so far today of the morning group, of course. See there, the all-black Kart, Derek Hastings, taking on the all-white of Troy Toney. That's your front two for the time being. But you have Williams, who stopped on track early on that warm-up lap, that is still in there and fighting for the race lead as Harleman, the number 22, starting to fall off in that fourth spot. He's second in class in Legends. Williams leading the Legends class. He's third overall in that camera shot, but still, overall race lead going to Derek Hastings, leading the way by about 2/10 last time they came across the stripe. I say that Troy Toney looked like he had a run down the back straightaway. He didn't in the end. Is more battling going on further back in the pack, Taylor.
As the field works their way around the circuit here and coming up on lap traffic by the looks of it up ahead of them, as we see also a good little fight for the Supermasters as Hastings takes over the race lead once again. But in Supermasters, it's McLaughlin over Cutshaw. Those two battling it out in Supermasters as they come across the start-finish line. Lap traffic up ahead. They will put him a lap down. That's the top kart machine, I believe, of Tom Sarlot, as well as Richard Lemasters could be possibly one of the drivers who is being put a lap down. Meanwhile, back up front, you see Hastings holding strong. Here comes the 24 of Troy Toney trying to show the nose, tries to look to the inside, passing a little further back between Harleman, McCordale, and Dertier as they come out of the final corner. 6 minutes plus 2 laps to go, and Hastings starting to stretch it out a little bit by about 2 kart lengths over Toney as Toney tries to hold off Brian Williams for position.
Yeah, so this could get interesting, especially with the fact that we have already hit lap traffic on lap 4. Is Toney trying to muscle his way by on Hastings around the outside of turn 5 here. He's going to go into the marbles and going to lose a position to Williams, as Williams will get that move done. They'll be side by side down the back straightaway. Expect Williams to get that position as Toney motioning forward, saying he wants to go and work with them, so he backs out of that move to not lose more time to these three behind them, being led by Harleman, then McCordale, and Dertier is that second battle pack. 5 minutes to go at the line, of course, plus that additional 2 laps at the end. Hastings leading the way, a little wide for him, though, in turn 3. That's going to open the door for Williams to potentially make a move in the next couple of corners here.
Absolutely great fight here amongst your top 3. We have 2 groups of 3 battling, so your top 6 all within the hunt to take over and win this race between the Masters and the Legends drivers here. Supermasters are quite a ways back right now, over 13 seconds from this group of 6 here, so they got quite a bit of work to do, but watching on as these drivers duke it out for these race leads and positions between Legends and Masters as they come across the line. Hastings will lead once again over Williams, but Evan McCordale will get around Tom Harleman for the 4th spot and now try to see if he can close the gap between him and the top 3.
Yeah, it's going to be a difficult task for him to do that, but not impossible at this stage of the race. Clock is continuing to tick down. We're about to hit 4 minutes to go in this main event for the Supermaster, Legends, and Masters. Making their way through the back section of the track. More battling going on for the lead. Hastings is getting passed by Williams, so it should be new race leader this time across the stripe. It is the 75 of Williams in the Legends class, making his way to the lead, as he's have both the Legends and the Masters being represented in that top 5. Yep, top 5 for 2 different classes. So nice to see that the classes are interchanging. It's not just the battle packs with their own class. You see different drivers being involved in this battle for the lead. As more lap traffic, Taylor there in turn 7 getting out of the way. It looked a little bit close, but they held themselves offline. It's going to hinder drivers fourth on back, though, as this is where it gets interesting on traffic management. Blue flag being waved for multiple drivers as the top three seem to have gotten through that nice and clean.
Absolutely. Derek Hastings holds on to the race lead for the time being. Williams, though, putting the pressure on him. He's got his new gen teammate of Troy Toney right there in third, trying to see if those two new gen machines can try to find their way through. More lap traffic ahead is trouble for the 58 machine, or is that the 56 actually, of William McLaughlin, one of your Supermasters drivers in his top kart. Unfortunately for him, his day is done. So that will now leave Danny Cutshaw, your leader now officially in the Supermasters category. A strong lead over Richard Lemasters, as well as Chris Whitaker and Tom Sarlt in that group as they work their way across the front straightaway. Nose to tail, Williams as he tries to get around the 82 of Richard Lemasters, and it's being trouble as that is a bad mistake right there from Williams, opening the door for Derek Hastings to take the spot away.
Yeah, just got a little impatient there. Going around the outside of a cart in turn 3 this direction is never going to work, and I think the just adrenaline might have gotten to him through there, as he's going to lose a ton of time down into the 4th spot, so we'll see Hastings taking the lead. Toney in second, McCorkadale, who was quite a ways back and still currently holds the fastest time of this race, is now well and truly in the battle for the win. Minute and a half plus 2 to go, that time across the stripe for Hastings. Number 13, Kart, is about 3.5 tenths clear of Troy Toney, but doesn't seem like he's able to get through turns 1 through 3 as well as the new gen driver of Troy Toney behind. So now they're going to be bumper to bumper down the back straight.
It is 3 Masters drivers, followed by 2 Legends drivers in your top 5. Williams and Harleman will battle as here comes Toney trying to show the nose to the inside. Not close enough to make anything work here as they come through the little kink heading towards the final couple of corners of turn number 10. Hastings stretches it out big time out of turn 10. Gets a great run across the front straightaway. Under a minute to go, plus 2 laps as Hastings. McCorkadale moving up to P2 as he gets by Troy Toney.
Yeah, McCorkadale going purple last time across the stripe, too. He was 3 tenths quicker than Hastings that time by. At that pace, he's definitely going to catch up, including if you factor in the draft to that as well. So making their way out of the banked corner of turn 6 down the straightaway. We'll have to see what McCorkadale can do this time across the timing and scoring beacon to see if he's closed down that gap to the leader, as more drivers continuing to battle away for position. That's for 3rd and 4th. I think that's Troy Toney and Williams going after each other, as McCorkadale does improve his time as more lap traffic to deal with there at a really tight portion of the racetrack. McCorkadale found a little less than half a tenth on Hastings, as Hastings put his fastest time of the session so far. So pretty even for our front runners at this late stage of the race, as I believe it'll be sticks in the air, 2 to go next time across the line, as McCorkadale almost losing that 2nd spot.
Yeah, Williams try to put the pressure on him, but McCorkadale holds strong as they come out of turn number 10. 2 sticks in the air for your race leader as they cross the line here for them. Hastings comfortably 0.6 of a second ahead of McCorkadale in the Masters category. In Legends, it's Brian Williams who has a kart between himself and Tom Harleman, and in Supermasters, Danny Cutshaw comfortable in his class in Supermasters at the moment. As they approach the bank corner here, was 1 more lap to go after this one here as they come down the back straightaway. The toe coming into play. McCorkadale gets a great run, trying to make sure he can work his way through. He tries to show the nose on Derek Hastings, not close enough to make anything work, as Brian Williams puts the bumper a little bit to try to push the driver of Evan McCorkadale onto the back bumper of Hastings. Down the front straightaway, white flag in the air one more time around for Derek Hastings as he tries to set a new personal best time for him, which he does with a 43.62. Williams, though, still setting a blistering pace with help from McCorkadale as those two draft together to catch back up to your leader.
Yeah, Hastings just has half a track to go. McCorkadale is right there on him for the overall race win. Down the back straight they come. Hastings doesn't go too defensive. He's going to leave the door wide open for McCorkadale into turn 7. New race leader, but Hastings trying to hold it high, wide, and handsome around the outside. 3 wide in the penultimate corner as McCorkadale's going to have the inside line. Drag race to the line. It looks like McCorkadale might get it. I don't think so. Hastings might get him at the line. He doesn't. McCorkadale by less than 1/10 of a second takes the win over Derek Hastings. Then Williams, Tony, and Dirtier, your top 5. What a finish it was for these Masters, Supermaster, and Legend drivers. There you can see the final overall results. McCorkadale taking the Masters win, Legends going the way of Williams, and then Supermasters going to Danny Cutshaw down in 7th overall.
Waiting for officially, yes, Danny Cutshaw just crossed the line. He will be your Supermasters winner. And then the rest of the field goes as followed. Chad King, Jason Irving, Richard Lemaster, Tom Sarle, William McLaughlin, and Michael Schaefer all finishing out. Of course, for Schaefer and McLaughlin out of the race. They did not get to finish, unfortunately, for those 2 drivers. Hopefully, we'll see them again at the next round in April. So, but that concludes the 206 Masters, Legends, and Supermasters. Next on the docket, the 206 Juniors are about to head out onto the track for them, and the gates are open. Release the hounds, and away they go once again onto the track. Let's go ahead and give you your starting lineup for the 206 Juniors light category. And on the pole position, it is going to be Braden Heber on the pole, followed by Levi Wilbur. Clay Robbins in row 2 with Colton Kelly. Colin Harden and Ethan Williams in row 3. Andrew Petrie and Andrew Goldman in row 4. Logan Lynch and Gage Justiano with Braden Johnson. Looks like receiving a penalty as well, so he will start tail end Charlie in row number 6. Oh, actually, wrong one, actually. Senior light. I'm looking at the wrong one. Apologies on that. That was 206 light. We are looking at the 206 junior category. It goes as followed. Evan Patton on the front row with Christopher Utsi in row 1, followed by AJ Stoner and Parker Dunn. Carson Benjamin and Lucan Lazier in row 3. Jordan Lafine and Joseph Yvette in row 4. Nolan Wade, Maxon Klebe in row 5. Nico Santos, Thomas Anthony in row 6. And Ben Hahi and Case Reef in row 7. Field enters the tram line to get set. Yutzi is showing a little bit of frustration as they try to battle it out. Green flag is out, and already Yutzi loses the race lead, drops back to P3 as they try to fight it out here for the race lead as the 2 AMAX Coyotes take away the race lead and pull away from the competition. UC, though, gets a good run out of turn 10 to take the fight and head across the line. It is going to be Nolan Wade and Evan Patton who will lead the charge. Patton moves up to the race lead. UC second. Stoner drops back to P3.
Yeah, Patton out to that early lead, but with the nature of 206 racing, and you see it all the time with like NASCAR super speedways, you might be a little bit of a sitting duck with going out to that lead so early, but nothing you can really do about that. You had a good run and everyone else behind you didn't, so he's making the most of what he was given. So AMAX leading the way with Evan Patton at the front of the field. Christopher Utsi is going to have to close in on him in the next couple of laps to really give him a run for his money. There you can see them crossing the timing and scoring beacon. 3/10 is the gap between Patton and Utsi as they make their way through the old track. Turns 3, 4, and then the downhill hairpin of 5. As Utsi in that second spot will have a little bit of help from Stoner and Benjamin in that front 4 positions, as those 4 are already starting to form their own little battle pack out in front and leave Parker Dunn in that 5th position on the number 7 cart behind, as he's getting passed by Lazier actually for that 5th spot, so move him down a position. But can see through here, Taylor, there's already that big gap starting to form in between Benjamin and Dunn. So looks like we have a 4-cart battle for the lead led by Evan Patton.
Evan Patton doing a great job leading this train here. Then you have another 4-cart train behind with Lazier, Dunn, Yvette, and Lafine. And then Santos, Wade, and Klebe all starting to fall further and further behind. So 8-kart breakaway for your front runners as they try to see what they can do together with 7.5 minutes plus 2 laps to go. There you see Lazier leading the charge in the new gen kart with the Kart Republic of Parker Dunn right behind him as they work their way through. Then you have the Burrell Art of Yvette and Jordan Lafine right there behind in the other new gen kart in that second group for 5th on back. And then meanwhile up front, Patton leads the charge. Utsi in his Burrell Art as Stoner sets fastest lap of the race in his AMAX.
Yeah, Stoner resetting fast time. That's 2 laps in a row for the 141 Coyote. Currently in third for him, as you can see, they're all starting to battle it out. Now Utsi taking the way away from Evan Patton. Something must have happened off camera through turns 3, 4, and 5 that we didn't see, because they're all over each other now. Utsi around the outside of AJ Stoner to get to the lead. Patton now in second. Then it's Stoner, and then Carson Benjamin getting the bad end of that deal. He is starting to fall off the pack ever so slightly, but Taylor, with the nature of 206 racing around here and pack racing, the second these guys start to battle up front, if Carson Benjamin can hold pace somewhat, then he should be able to battle it out for the win in the next 6 minutes.
Absolutely, as we keep an eye on these 3 drivers now, as Stoner and Patton are starting to line themselves back up for a good run. And here they come. The AMAX Coyotes starting to put the pressure on the Burrell Art of Christopher Utsi as they come into the hairpin and now through the kink. And the 2 AMAX Coyotes starting to see if they can get around your race leader, Chris Utsi, on the front straightaway. Not close enough to try anything here as they head down the front stretch across the line. Utsi still holds strong. Patton sets fastest lap of the race with help from his teammate of AJ Stoner. Benjamin falling off pace into the clutches of Lucien Lazier in 5th position. So we could have a 3-kart breakaway and then another 5-kart breakaway once they catch up. Benjamin trying to keep pace as they battle further back for 5th. Lazier and company just jockeying around for position as we see Dunn and Yvette battle for 5th.
Yeah, it's kind of a sinking feeling for Carson Benjamin when you start to fall off the lead pack. Doing everything you can, make sure you're not over-driving or under-driving the kart, just getting it to its perfect limit, but without a draft, it's going to be difficult for him. He's still within that slipstream range of AJ Stoner, who seems to be slowly falling off the back end of these front 3, at least at the back half of the track, but is able to make a lot of time up through turns 2 and 3. But ultimately, Taylor, Benjamin just really needs these guys to have 1 or 2 passes in the next couple of laps to keep him in the battle for the lead. But I think these 3 know that Benjamin is still in it. But I say that, Evan Patton to the lead. This is exactly what Benjamin needs, but he's still way too far back to do anything with that time right now. Way out of drafting distance, and I think this has become a 3-way battle for the lead.
It now has. He did set fastest lap of the race last time by, but unfortunately lost it all there towards the end, as even though with those 3 battling it out, they still were able to set some consistently fast lap times. Utsi and Stoner setting personal best as they come out of the hairpin towards the bank corner, and it looks like Benjamin's starting to close back up, but he just loses all of that time on this back straightaway as the 2 Coyotes starting to try to pull away from Utsi in third. Maybe if he loses that draft, as a big run for Patton as he breaks away by about a kart length over second place AJ Stoner, but it's all going to compress back together as they head down the front straightaway into turn 1.
Yeah, Benjamin was almost a second slower last lap, this time compared to his fastest lap. This time, though, a lot closer to his purple time, just a 10th off of it, so he should be able to reel in these leaders at that pace. He found 2/10 on Christopher Utsi in front. It's just a matter of staying consistent at this point, Taylor. You got 3 minutes to go. You can't really afford another mistake to where you have to fight your way back up. That being said, battle for the lead, though. AJ Stoner getting by on Evan Patton, who tried to put his nose in on Stoner through turn 8. That move was never going to work, and look who's back in the battle for the lead. The fastest kart on track, the 98 Kubica kart of Carson Benjamin, is now sniffing the race leaders as we find the leaders there. AJ Stoner leading the way over Patton Utsi and Benjamin. They are all on top of each other. You can throw a blanket over them as things stand. And if you know a thing or two about 206 Junior Racing, Taylor, this is about to get real interesting in the closing stages of this race.
It's about to get dicey, a little argy-bargy possibly coming into play as the two Coyotes now try to work together. The Burrell Art right behind, and then you have Carson Benjamin, who set another personal fastest lap of the race as well as overall, and he's going to make a charge for third. He looks to the inside of Christopher Utsi to take that spot away and does move Carson Benjamin up to third. Loses a little bit of time, though, to your two front runners and their AMAX Coyotes, but he has got enough time. 2 minutes plus 2 laps to go. A lot can happen between now and then as he tries to take the fight to the two of them as these drivers here trying to bring it home for a win at their home track.
Yeah, and this is kind of the calm before the storm right now, where everyone starts to settle in just a little bit before we really go at it in the final couple of laps. Utsi is going to want to try and get past at least Benjamin to get himself in a better position for the win, as he is right there on the back end of the 98 machine going through turns 1 and 2. Carson Benjamin, though, going purple last time across the stripe is a 43.4 for him. So he looking like the driver to beat right now in terms of pace, but in track position, he's still got to get by two drivers in front of him. AJ Stoner has been so strong at the front of this field, hasn't really relinquished that lead since he got it, but Evan Patton, with the help of Carson Benjamin, will get by to the lead. So Evan Patton looking for the race win to open the season off for the IKC, as they'll be making their way through turns 10 onto the front straight now. 50 seconds to go plus 2 laps remaining. You would think this is the last lap the way they're battling, but you can see there, Taylor, 2 battle packs starting to form, and third and fourth have to be really careful now.
Absolutely. They are going to lose some valuable time here as the closing laps are coming in. About 3 laps to go for your race leaders as they come around the circuit, heading up on the bank corner towards the back straightaway, and Benjamin and Utsi start to converge back onto the top 2, heading down into the braking zone. The 2 AMAX Coyotes stay single file, not wanting to put pressure and lose time as Benjamin gets a great run out of corner exit and is there to see if he can capitalize on it. They come down. We're going to run another lap, so make it 3 to go as they cross the line. 10 seconds plus 2 laps as they work their way across the start-finish line. Patton, Stoner, Benjamin, Utsi, all running some very quick lap times, all within the same gap, but Benjamin, I gotta say, if he can just find that opening, he may be able to take the fight to the 2 AMAX Coyotes.
I mean, Benjamin has the pace like we've been talking about all race. It's just the consistency in the racecraft that it doesn't seem like he has compared to the rest of this pack. It just, one lap he can do the fastest lap of the race by quite some margin. The other, you lose it by 7/10. He just can't be doing that at this stage of the race. It'll be 2 to go. Next time across the stripe, we'll have sticks in the air as Evan Patton leads us to that. 2 laps to go now. AJ Stoner, when do you make your move if you're the 141? Do you wait for the final lap in turn 7 and go defensive for the final couple of corners? Or do you want to be leading at when you see that white flag? It's all up to driver preference. It's gonna get dicey, like you said, Taylor, down the backstretch for the penultimate time this race, and Patton's going low, and he wants this race win.
Yes, he does. He's going to go on the defensive. He is wanting to have Stoner and Benjamin do it the hard way. Take him around the outside, but it's not going to work this time. They head down the front straightaway. White flag in the air, and still Patton goes on the defensive. Stays down low before he sets up. Here comes Stoner up on the curbs a little bit right there. Gathers it back up. Could open the door for Benjamin. Not going to work, though, as Patton and Stoner stay nose to tail. Benjamin, Utsi in the catbird seat, ready to see if any one of these 3 Stonery makes a mistake as they come out of the banked hairpin onto the bank corner. They go up the banking. They will work their way down the back straightaway, and Patton holding strong for the moment. He dives down to the bottom, but here comes Stoner. He'll send it in deep. Does he try to get around? No, he cannot. The 861 of Patton drops back. Stoner takes over the race lead as Utsi tries to find an opening, but to no avail as they come out of the final corner. Here they come down the front straightaway. It is going to be none other than AJ Stoner to take the 206 junior win. Patton, Benjamin, and Utsi, your top four. Then it's going to be Jordan Lafine, Lucian Laser, Dunn, Yvette, your top seven, or top eight. Then Santos, Wade, and Cleve, rounding out your 11 cart field. Dunn setting fastest lap of the race with a 43.3. So a good run for him, but unfortunately just did not have enough pace towards the end. Stoner, though, a great pass to take over the race lead in the closing stages, as now we get set for the 206 senior light category next on the docket.
Yeah, crazy race in 206 junior for AJ Stoner to go high, wide, and handsome around the outside of Patton in turn 7. It was a bold move. He got it done, and now you get to see more 206 action with the light category on track. Next, you can see all of them visors down, ready to get going for this 10-minute plus 2-lap race. If it's anything like we saw in 206 junior, this one should be a thriller.
Absolutely. We'll give you the starting lineup. We'll give it to you one more time as the 206 seniors lights category heads out onto the track. Here is your starting lineup. It's going to be Braden Heber on the front row with Levi Wilbur, followed by Clay Robbins and Colton Kelly in row 2. Row 3 will see Colin Hardens and Ethan Williams, followed by Andrew Petrie and Andrew Goldman in row 4. Logan Lynch and Gage Justiano in row 5, and Braden Johnson received a penalty from last race. He'll be in row number 6.
So these drivers trying to get more heat into their tires as, you know, the track temp's starting to build, Taylor, but still it's a very cold day for racing here in Whiteland, Indiana. Everyone getting set up in their grid positions. Obviously, with that penalty for Braden Johnson, he's going to be a driver to look out for. He had the pace last time to win. If things go his way on the opening lap, he might be in that conversation for a podium, but Braden Heber has been very consistent at the pointy end of this field and will be very hard to topple for the rest of these drivers.
Yeah, weather conditions currently right now, winds gusting at 24 miles an hour. It's 49 degrees, but unfortunately it feels like 39 degrees out there. So our cameraman and our track officials make sure they are bundled up, and make sure you drink something hot and nice when you get done out there during your lunch break as we get the green flag, and away we go for the 206 senior light category, the final points paying event here of the morning before we go to shifter racing this later on after this, and then our lunch break here as Heber, Wilbur, and Robbins lead the charge out of the turn 10 across the line, and it's going to be Heber, Robbins moving up to P2. Wilbur drops back to P3 as Andrew Goldman has some trouble coming off the circuit as they work their way into turn 2 and 3. But for Heber, continuing on to try to lead the charge here, but Robbins looking to be the one to lead here out of the hairpin, and he's head to the banking.
Yeah, Heber down to 4th after a mistake out of turns 1 and 2. That's not the race start he would have wanted. Obviously, looks like he's struggling for tire temps, just swerving back and forth on the back straight to try and get some temperature into those tires. So it will be Clay Robbins leading the way for the first time today over a field of very hungry 206 light drivers that would like this win. Further back, Braden Johnson has made his way up into 6th, so keep an eye out for him. He's 2.3 seconds back, but P3, Colton Kelly going purple last time by. He's got a bit of a gap to form, or to get rid of, between Levi Wilbur and Clay Robbins, and he'll have Braden Heber to help him further his way up the field. As a little check over the shoulder for Levi Wilbur to get a sense of where the rest of the pack is. They make their way through turn 7 and through the quick 8-9 complex. Interesting race start Taylor with Braden Heber losing time, and of course with Braden Johnson making his way through the field, two of the race favorites in the heat race earlier on this morning, not having ideal starts to this race, but making the most of it.
Well, Heber is back on the attack as he just set the fastest lap of the race with a 43.3 as they come across the line. It looks like Wilbur coming out through that little kink out before turn number 7 lost a lot of momentum and almost backed up Colton Kelly, which allowed Heber to get back around him to take over that position in third. Kind of curious to see what happened there. Let's see if it happens again coming through this kink once again. No, not really. Doesn't back up too much, but still just kind of managing the pace right now as Heber kicks in the afterburners to try to once again close the gap, which he has all over the back bumper of Levi Wilbur. He sets fastest lap of the race once again with a 42.8.
Yeah, and one thing to note is the next driver outside of this battle pack for the lead is Braden Johnson. 2.4 seconds back. He's kind of holding steady there. Of course, with no draft, it's a little bit difficult for Johnson to close up to these drivers, but Levi Wilbur looking to the inside of Clay Robbins, gets that job done under braking, so new leader, Levi Wilbur on the number 6 machine as Braden Heber with that fast time of the race. Currently sitting in third, leaving Colton Kelly a little bit in his dust. A couple tenths back, so this front three starting to pull away from P4 for the time being, as we've been talking about him throughout the race. Braden Johnson finding about a tenth on Colton Kelly last time, but not closing in to this race lead as fast as he would have wanted.
Yeah, Braden's going to have to wait to see if these top 3 battle a little bit harder for him to start reeling back in, especially towards Colton Kelly. Kelly's starting to lose that draft as well, which could help Johnson close back in if he's able to get a little bit of the sniff of the toe in order to make the charge up towards the top 3. But it's still 6 minutes plus 2 laps to go. A lot of time still for him to work his way, but he's going to need a little bit of help in order to make that run. And as we say that, Braden Heber sets fastest lap of the race once again as they work their way through, and Clay Robbins set the personal best. So Johnson still quite a ways off pace compared to your top 3, a 43.2. So he's not able to really gain time on his competitors while the leaders are in the 42-second bracket.
Yeah, well, it'll be a big shout for Johnson to get brought into even the podium fight at this rate, but don't discount what Wilbur, Robbins, Heber, and Kelly have been able to do to break away from the rest of this field. Is quite an achievement already, so as they come across the line just under 5.5 minutes to go. Colton Kelly resetting fastest time of the race in 4th position. Obviously, he's at a good place to where he's getting the draft from those 3 karts in front of him. He's gaining 2.5 tenths from Braden Heber in front. So closing that gap for the podium is Colton Kelly, but still, it just seems like Levi Wilbur and Clay Robbins are so strong out in front. Not a lot of battling happening between the two of them. I think they understand the assignment of just holding with each other and not battling too much to bring more karts into it. But Braden Heber seems like he's found something. Last lap is now on the back end of Clay Robbins.
Nate, it's all about balance when it comes to any form of racing, whether it be karting to the highest echelons of other forms of motorsports. It's showing patience and also knowing when to attack. When you have the run, if you feel like you can make it stick, take the run. But if you don't, even if you do have that run, sometimes it's better just to lay off just a little bit, knowing it's still a lot of racing that can happen. And unless you can guarantee break away from the competition, there's really no point, because even if you do able to, for examples, Clay Robbins gets around Wilbur, he can easily just get brought back in as Wilbur and Heber could just slowly utilize the draft and come back into the fight. As Colton Kelly sets fastest lap again with the 42.550.
Yeah, all the teamwork going on between those front 3 isn't really helping him out, as Heber a late move to the inside of Clay Robbins for that 2nd spot. I think Heber saw that Kelly was able to close in on them and decided he had to go. And he might go for the race lead here as well inside of turn 7. Unable to get that done. He stayed in line as they make their way through 8, 9, and 10. Heber going high, switches to the inside, gets alongside the race leader of Levi Wilbur, and takes the race lead away. So Braden Heber from 3rd to 1st in just 1 lap is a good run for him, but of course that brings in Colton Kelly into the mix for this race lead. As further down, Braden Johnson, I think, is dipping out of this race. He is falling down the order quickly, so he either pulled in or has issues. So that's going to promote Ethan Williams into the top 5.
Yeah, him as well as Andrew Goldman also out of the race. Tough break for both of them, as just as I say that, Goldman finally crosses the line. So yeah, Braden Johnson, first one out of the race in your 206 senior category, as the field works their way back up across the line. 2.5 minutes plus 2 laps to go. Braden Heber continues to lead the charge. Robbins, Wilbur, and Kelly all in the hunt, as the battle for 5th, 6th, and 7th still looks pretty strong for the most part, I would say. As just as I checked, note Williams has a 3-second advantage over Colin Hardens and Logan Lynch, who are further back another 3 seconds.
Yeah, so not a lot of battling happening in the mid or back of the pack here, but luckily 4 karts right on top of each other battling it out for the race lead. They'll hit the time and scoring beacon with just under 2 minutes left to go here, so still a lot of time to decide who's going to take the win here for senior light. Braden Heber having that 4/10 of a second advantage over Clay Robbins, then Levi Wilbur still your top 3. Colton Kelly has kind of been a yo-yo this race. He's had the pace to close in on the front 3. Obviously having the fastest lap of the race, but doesn't seem to have the consistency to be able to do that lap after lap, as Levi Wilbur checking over his shoulder again just to get a gauge on where Kelly is and if he can help him get back up to this front pack, as everyone has a little bit of a ghost car or a little bit of a bubble in front of them. No one able to close up to the kart in front. That being said, though, Robbins getting to the back bumper of Heber this lap, so we could see more battling for the race win.
Absolutely. As the field works their way out of turn 4 and 5, heading into turn 6, they will go. Lap traffic up ahead. That looks to be like Andrew Goldman, who is about to be put a lap down here momentarily as they head down the back straightaway towards turn 7 and 8. And in the braking zone, they will go. Heber, Robbins still trying to hold strong as they enter into the kink towards turn 9 and 10. And so far, no one's really going to kick in the afterburners just yet. Collins did last time by with the fastest lap of the race so far as they cross the line. No improvements really there. Everyone kind of now just basically plateauing at the moment with 13 seconds left to go, plus an additional 2 laps. So 3 to go for our race leaders as they approach the lap car. Let's see how this could shake up things. They're catching him right about a good spot on the back straightaway, which Goldman goes on to the bottom of the racetrack in that number 2 Burrell Art machine. Let's hope they can gather it back up. And yes, Goldman gives away, goes wide, lets these top 4 as, ooh, a little bit of a slide right there by Colton Kelly. That's going to lose him a ton of time on the top 3.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for Kelly trying to get past the lap card. It was a little bit on both of them there, but mainly on Kelly having to be the driver to get that pass done in a safe manner. Unfortunate for him as we're now down to 3 for the battle for the win. Heber, though, doing everything he can to make a 3-kart battle for the win, just 1, because he is continuing to hold that gap to Clay Robbins behind, as Robbins and Wilbur not really able to do anything to close that gap between themselves and the race leader that currently finds himself to be Braden Heber.
Absolutely, as field works their way down the back straightaway or front straightaway, white flag in the air for Braden Heber as he looks to try to hold off the hard charger of Clay Robbins and Levi Wilbur. They're all right there. A little tap of the helmet there from Clay Robbins, even though Wilbur's not close enough to try anything yet. They come out of the hairpin towards the bank corner and towards the back straightaway for the final time. Robbins trying everything he can, but he's running out of time, running out of opportunities. Hebert just has to be smooth and consistent. Into the braking zone they go, towards the kink for the final time, and Braden Hebert looking to kick off 2025 in style here at Indy, across the line, and he will win your 206 senior light category here at the Indy Karting Challenge at the K1 Whiteland Race Park. And how about that? Braden Hebert sets fastest lap of the race coming to the line.
Yeah, just to make sure of it, that was the run Braden Hebert wanted to start his 206 senior light season here at K1 Circuit Whiteland for 2025 Indy Karting Challenge. Just one race to go after this one, Taylor. It's non-points paying. It's the cadet and junior shifters before we go back to our afternoon groups. So we'll be excited to see what we have in store with our junior and cadet shifters. It was an interesting one, to say the least, last time in the heat race. So we'll have to see if Sam Tutwiler can get one place better and take the win over AJ Stoner and co. We'll just have to see in the 10 laps plus 10 minutes plus 2 laps we have ahead of us.
Absolutely. Well, it looks like they're still getting themselves situated here. We got a couple of minutes before they are technically released onto the track. They're expected to head out at 1:21 Eastern Time, so we'll give them a few moments, take a quick commercial break before we get set for our shifter category. You're watching Kart Chasers coverage of the Indy Karting Challenge from the K1 Circuit in Whiteland.
So you finally want to get behind the wheel, huh?
Yeah, I've been shooting for 3 years and I've never got to drive.
Well, you're going to need some more gear than just your helmet. Why don't you go to shopakr.com. They got their inventory online and they'll ship it the same day if you order before 5:30 p.m. Eastern.
They got shoes?
Yep.
Gloves?
Yep.
Rip protectors?
Got those too.
Can they make me go fast?
No.
Here at Acceleration Kart Racing, we've got everything you need to get on track. What happens next? Well, that's on you. Check us out online at shopakr.com.
Hey, what's up, Caleb?
What's up, Brandon?
You sound defeated. A long day at the office?
Yeah, got stuck at a cat food marketing meeting for like 3 hours. I don't know a thing about cat food, and I don't even work in marketing. And then I got sent on a coffee run like I was some sort of intern. Then at the end of the day, when I want to go get gas, I just realized everything is so darn expensive nowadays, man.
Yeah, you got that right.
Like, do you have any idea how much we're spending on Netflix?
That's like $20 a month.
Do you know how much we're spending on cable?
That's like $50 a month.
But you know what isn't expensive?
Tell me.
Kart Chaser Premium. For only $9.99 a month, you can watch all of the American karting action live from coast to coast. Subscribe and become a member today.
Welcome back to Kart Chasers coverage of the Indy Karting Challenge from the K1 Circuit in Whiteland. It is now time for the final race of the morning session, even though we are way past afternoon. It is the cadet and junior shifters. It is AJ Stoner and Sam Tutwiler on the front row, followed by Lincoln Wiley, Danny O'Gara, and Dominic Gaddis. Your 5 karts heading out onto the track for 10 minutes plus 2 laps. Non-points race for them. This is just all prepping, testing, learning more about the junior and cadet shifters. Into the tram line they will go. And away we go with racing for 10 minutes plus 2 laps, and already Stoner checking out on the competition as Tutwiler tries to find his opening to make the fight, as Lincoln Wiley in third.
Yeah, a good run through the opening couple of corners for these drivers to keep it clean with these high horsepower machines. Daniel O'Gara currently sitting in third where he started. Lincoln Wiley on that junior shifter will probably want to get past the cadet in front of him, but AJ Stoner gained the jump he needed over Sam Tutwiler to take an early lead, as Tutwiler just a few tenths back from AJ Stoner, who loses the left rear just a little bit through turn 7. You don't want to overheat the rear tires too much on these shifter carts, otherwise you will start to lose grip as Sam Tutwiler gets a very good jump out of turn 10. Looks like Stoner might have missed a gear or something, either dropped a tire, but that allowed Sam Tutwiler to take the lead of this junior shifter field. And of course, behind Daniel Guerra, overall running third, but leading the way in cadet shifter over Dominic Gaddis. You can see just going through the banking now.
Absolutely great run as Tutwiler holds off Stoner once again as they come out of turn number 7 and 8. Through the little kink they go towards turn number 10 across the front straightaway, and Tutwiler still holds on strongly with a 38.9, sets another personal fastest lap of the race with a 38.3 as he tries to lead the way in his machine, but Stoner keeping pace as quickly as he can as they work their way through the hairpin heading to the bank corner.
Yeah, what a lap that was from Sam Tutwiler to put a little bit more distance in between himself and AJ Stoner. Be interesting to see how confident Stoner is on the brakes in this junior shifter package into turn 7 if he gets more runs like that out of the banking. But starting to put some time in between themselves and Lincoln Wiley, who now runs third overall for the time being. Of course, still have just under 8 minutes and 2 laps left to go for these drivers. It's just a race of attrition at this point. If it's anything like we saw at K1 circuit over in California for the opening round of the Pro Kart Challenge, is up the inside. AJ Stoner gets the job done, or at least he thought, at the apex, sliding that rear end yet again. That's going to be heating up the tires quicker than he would have wanted. And Sam Tutwiler, with a bit of a smoother driving style, seems to be taking care of his equipment ever so slightly more than the rest of the pack.
Absolutely is the case here as we watch these two battle it out. O'Gara has a comfortable lead over Dominic Gaddis in the cadet shifter category. So we're going to be mostly keeping an eye on the junior shifters with Tutwiler and Stoner. Lincoln Wiley still in the hunt, though, a second and a half back as they slide their way through out of turn number 7, through the kink and turn 8 and 9, heading over to turn number 10. Good run off corner exit, though, for both Tutwiler and Stoner as they continue to trade fastest lap over fastest lap. A 37.7 for Tutwiler over Stoner's 37.8 as Wiley set the personal best as well.
Yeah, everyone's setting personal bests last time by throughout both the junior and the cadet shifter field. As you see there, Sam Tutwiler going defensive into turn 7 on AJ Stoner. Not something we've seen too much so far, but just talking a little bit about cadet shifter, Daniel Guerra leading the way there. If you watched coverage on Car Chaser of the Super Nationals last year, where they debuted this cadet and junior shifter package, Daniel Guerra was one of the drivers driving a cadet shifter at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. So I think he has a bit more experience than what Dominic Gaddis has. I'm not sure if this is the first weekend Gaddis has been running that engine package, but we know O'Gara has been practicing on this quite a bit, so that might explain the 12 second gap. 12 seconds between himself and Danny O'Gara leading the way in class. But back on the pointy end of the field and back on screen is Sam Tutwiler continuing to lead the way from AJ Stoner, who just went purple last time across the stripe, who found 2/10 on Sam Tutwiler, and they are still on each other right now. Taylor, I say that looks like a missed shift from AJ Stoner out of turn 5.
Yeah, a little bit of an issue right there for Stoner. Gathers it back up as Tutwiler just slides it in there into that corner and gathers it back up and continues on his way. Got to be careful with how much sliding you're doing. Yes, it's the finals. Yes, there's no more racing for them after this, but still, you want to try to take care of your equipment as they cross the line. And yeah, Tutwiler half a second faster than your second place of AJ Stoner as the 747 machine of Lincoln Wiley trying to work his way through in third position, just sitting comfortably, learning about the kart, learning about the track with this kart combination. I know Lincoln Wiley is familiar with the circuit, of course, but it's a brand new type of formula that he's running, of course, with this shifter program, and definitely it's a whole different ballgame compared to a 206 or a KA or a micro or mini Swift.
Yeah, it's a big step up from the 206 Sportsman and Swift engine that Lincoln is used to. And he's doing fairly well. To give him credit, only 4 seconds back from the race lead of Sam Tutwiler and AJ Stoner. Hopefully throughout the year, Lincoln can really nail this down and further his way up the field and maybe be battling it out for some race wins later on in the year. 3 minutes, 30 seconds to go or thereabout for these junior and cadet drivers. There you can see Daniel Guerra leading the way in cadet shifter as making his way through turn 10. Large gap between himself and Dominic Gaddis. The cadet class is pretty much wrapped up if everyone keeps it on track, and it's going to be looking like a win for Daniel Guerra if he can hold on for 3 minutes plus 2 laps. The only question mark in this field seems to be the battle for the win in junior shifter. AJ Stoner seemingly is the quicker driver between himself and Sam Tutwiler, but just is overheating the tires, it seems, ever so slightly, and doesn't have the consistency that the comp car driver Sam Tutwiler currently has.
Absolutely, and Tutwiler is continuing to set fast lap after fast lap here. He ran a 10th faster last time by than AJ Stoner with a 37.27 compared to a 37.37 from Stoner. As we watch Danny O'Gara in his number 67, it looks like Dominic Gaddis has pulled off the racing circuit. So for O'Gara, he's just got to basically just stay on the track for the most part. He has got the win in the bag in the cadet shifter category. So we'll keep an eye on that. Pretty much everyone else is separated by a second or more as Tutwiler comes across the line, and AJ Stoner kicking in the afterburners, found a little bit of extra pace, 37.1 for him in his junior shifter.
Yeah, 10th and a half faster last time by than Sam Tutwiler. Closing that gap, it's still 8.5 tenths of a second to close for AJ Stoner, so it's going to be difficult for him to even get to the rear bumper, and then getting past Sam Tutwiler is a whole nother thing. Should be about 1.5 minutes plus 2 laps to go when they come across the stripe just now. You can see Sam Tutwiler. There's AJ Stoner making their way through turns 1 and 2. Tutwiler has been pretty faultless this race so far, hitting the curb there a little bit harder than he would have wanted in turn 4, but keeping it going as AJ Stoner pulling off track there. That's a little bit of drama as Stoner will drop out, so that'll move Lincoln Wiley up into the second spot. So no more pressure for Sam Tutwiler. Same boat as Daniel Guerra, just got to bring it home at this point to take the win.
That will move Lincoln Wiley up to second and Danny O'Gara up into the overall podium position for him. So good way to kick off the 2025 campaign overall for O'Gara as Lincoln Wiley moves up to second place, 8 seconds behind your race leader of Sam Tutwiler.
Yeah, Tutwiler, really, what else can you say? He's been very consistent throughout this package on what seems to be an older chassis on board that comp kart. Doesn't seem like it's fully up to 2025 specs, so for him to hold on to that thing on a track that is already difficult in KA competition for the speeds you're going, and now we're throwing these junior drivers in shifter karts is very impressive to them, especially for the cadet drivers that have much less mechanical grip than what the juniors do with the front tires all the way around, including the rears. So shout out to Daniel Guerra and Dominic Gaddis for keeping those things under wraps. But be sticks in the air this time, Taylor, to end the morning group. Sam Tutwiler leading the way in junior shifter, as it has been a race of attrition here. You can see there, double sticks in the air. So there's 2 more laps to go around this K1 circuit Whiteland to finish off Sam Tutwiler's day.
Absolutely, as he will continue on, just absolute domination here once he was able to get around AJ Stoner in the early opening laps, and now is going to continue on his way to pick up win number 1 for him in the Cadet Junior Shifter category. Even though no points on the line, it's all about just learning. This is still a great category for those who are competing in this championship here as they work their way. White flag in the air before we get set for our afternoon racing session of the day. And just hitting his marks a little over the curbs right there, Lincoln Wiley. Give a little bit of a round of applause for him. He set some personal best for him as trying to improve. 9.6 seconds back from your race leader as they head down the back straightaway for the final time. Hits his marks over the curbs, and for Sam Tutwiler, he will come out of the final corner and take home the checkered flag in your cadet and junior shifter class. This will conclude our morning session of the day. We'll be back a little later on this afternoon. Probably we'll have to double check from our officials, but our next race, but due to the fact of early morning rain that caused us to be delayed, we're showing about a 2 o'clock start time for qualifying. We might be a little bit later than that. Stay tuned for more action on Kart Chaser, as we'll be back for afternoon qualifying, starting off with the micros, the minis, 206 medium, KA junior, and a multi-class race of KA seniors and masters. Nate, final thoughts for you this morning on the action we saw today.
Yeah, with most of our 206 classes being over and done with, Whiteland always has a incredible circuit for producing close and thrilling 206 racing. Should be interesting to see what the 2-cycle guys got, especially the KA junior and KA senior class. Those are always incredible to watch around here at Whiteland, so be sure to tune in for that.
Absolutely. With that, my name is Taylor Burris. He is Nate Dean. We'll be back for the afternoon session of the Indy Karting Challenge from the Whiteland Raceway Park, presented by K1. And we'll see you next time on Kart Chaser.